Whoa! Oh, and we're back. Whoa! Welcome back to Wall Tactics. So I know this was a short notice stream, but the point of this stream today is just to have a community get together, you guess you could say. We're here for the Squig Pie, for some brew. You know, I'm here with some painting. I got some painting to do anyways. I decided I'm going to look at some lists that were sent from the Discord. So if any of you guys want to participate by either sending your list, sometimes I'll try to get to them if I can. I'm trying to get used to using the technicalities here. But also, you guys want to just throw ideas at me, we can talk about anything. It really doesn't have to be necessarily just 40K related. We could talk just movies, anything that even get you in the mindset of 40K or why you like the faction. So this really just a get together. Talk to me, talk to each other. I got lists to show, a couple lists here and there. I'm going to be painting. You tell me what you're painting. You can reach out to me on Discord if you can. Most likely, I have my phone here, so I can do that. Either way, this is just us getting together. You know, I'm gonna shout out whoever's here in the chat, because this is all just about the community for right now. We got some people send me some lists. We're gonna peep out your list. So if you want a little bit of feedback, you know, you can get it from me. You can get it from the people in chat. Should be a good time. First time doing this, necessarily, kind of, pretty much, on a Monday. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I got my glasses on even still and such, keep my eyes from being too fatigued. But let me see what's going on here. Let me give some shout outs to everybody in the chat, of course, with the early whoa. What's up, Clip? The Clip. Battle Nerd. Whoa. Schmucklow. Bonus wall? That's exactly what it is. It's a bonus wall. We're just here. We're just getting together, bouncing ideas. Tell me what kind of content you want. Tell me what you're doing. Talk about anything in general. It's just about the community. And I got some painting to do anyway, so I figure why not get on, start talking to you guys while I get touch up some models that I have here. That I'm trying to get ready for some bat reps and everything. So why not? 4 minutes to the wall. Exactly. Dang, God of War's here. You guys were ready. Oh, keep me one. All right. Let's see what John said. Get in the garage, getting medicated, wondering if I should set up a gaming area. Why not? Why not? It's always nice to have a good gaming area. There's some guys that I know that actually they're busy and such. They have families, and he'll play a game against his 2 armies that he owns, and he'll just set them up and make moves. And we're like, don't you know what you're gonna do next? And he's like, yeah, but still interesting to see the outcome. So, well, and he keeps kind of good enough to play at events. Whoa! And feel a little bit of confidence that he knows the rules still. So why not? Work continues on Mazrog Squigosaur, of course, of course. Def Copter Assembly Day. Let's go with the Def Copters. Everybody's starting to throw them around on their list, give them a little love again. Now it's 100 points. My list is board to board. May I have some pointers on who I bring when you get to it? I actually do have your list, and it's literally called board to board, so it's easy to remember that that's your list. For sure, for sure. We might as well start with one of the lists, huh? So I actually haven't even got to look at the list, so let's see what you got for us here. Oh, this is board to board. We're starting with you, I guess. All right, cool. So we got Big Mech in Mega Armor, Super Cyborg Body. I like that. If you can afford it, for the most part, it keeps him from getting precisioned out since he's holding the unit together. Big Mech with Custom Force Field. Kind of brutal. Okay. Because they get stuck in combat. You know, they don't have a lot of good amount of attacks. You might want to fall back. You do tend to be stuck in fights with the Mega Knobs from time to time. Gazgul, that's really nice. Love to see Gaz. Weird boy. Ooh, okay. You meant it when you said board to board. All right, we got a 20-man unit of boys. 20. So we got 4 mobs of boys. Whoa! That's what I love to see. You know, I love to see the ground and pound rise of the green tide. 1 truck, 1 battle wagon. Love me battle wagons. 3 10-man units of Gretchen. 1 kill rig. Oh, you run a kill rig and the battle wagon. Okay, I see you. Mega Knobs, it looks like one of these is escorting Gaz for the most part, and this one is, I don't know what it's doing, but it's chilling as a 2-man unit. And 1 Stormboy unit. Okay, that's interesting. So board to board is the point of this list. I assume you're trying to jump these boys around. I actually do appreciate the redundancy, because as reliable as it seems to just roll, you know, a 2-up when you wanted to jump, there's a good chance that it's gonna whiff when you really need it, you know? So having the redundancy in here on at least, well, having 3, as many as you can, pretty nice. It's interesting that you didn't put any combat characters with them, but necessarily you're just looking for board control, OC. The boys aren't really gonna always kill something. Some people do like the War Boss tech, but if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. I see you have Big Mac with custom force. Oh, this actually goes with the boys, of course. So he gives them the 4-up invuln at range, and then the Big Mac and Mega Armor is with what, a 2-man unit? Did you just not put those together, or did I miss the big unit of Mega Knobs? Right? Because you look like you have a 2-man unit here. One is for Gaz and one is for him. So I'm not really understanding that, because you want more than 2 guys in that unit. That way he can bring them back to life, heal one, such like that. So maybe there's a typo there. I'm not sure. You can let me know since you are in chat. But yeah, this is a Big Mac with Cousin Horsefield. I actually heard a lot of good things about this guy, that he's overlooked for the fact that he does give the boys multiple turns of a 4-up invuln at range. That makes a huge difference when you can decide to go, I'm hard as nails with the boys, and I have a 4-up invuln, so that actually does matter. It really does. So it's nice that you have one. If you have more than one, I bet you that would actually work too. Gaz is pretty much your one beat stick, it looks like, on this list for the most part, because you don't even have war bosses to increase the output from those boys. Battle wagon is what, Gaz in the 2-man, of course. Kill rig just by itself, I mean, that's fine, because the kill rig can actually still give buff to any unit, which would be a mob of boys, and you give them +1 strength, and then if you roll a 6, you actually get lethal. So that's interesting. Let me see what you said in the feedback in the chat, see if I missed anything. Okay, let's see what this is going on here. So let me see what you guys are saying. We're going to talk about lists like you guys. You want to throw me some lists, give each other some criticism. Why not? This is literally the point of the community. We're here all together. Let's talk. So my list board to board, that's you. Okay. For the revolution, I got your list too. Don't think about that. Bring the boys. That's what I'm saying. So recently I had a game where I reserved and used rapid ingress on Maz, and now I can't see a reason not to anymore. Also, hello, boys. Whoa! What's up, Brandon? Let's see. It goes 2 Mega Knobs and Gas. Yep, in the battle wagon. Let me see what you were trying to say. I wanted to have more trucks, but there weren't many available anywhere. And the second Mega Knobs unit is for the Big Mac. Oh, you just don't have enough Mega Knobs. So as weird as it may sound, you might want to just put those other 2 Mega Knobs with the Big Mac if you're for sure going to bring in, because even having 4 in that unit, giving them the 4-up invuln, being able to heal one, being able to bring one back, might serve you better than even having the bodyguards for gas. It is risky, so it really does depend on your meta. If you think you can get one shot, if you then need to be dev wound off the board, then you might want the bodyguards. But in general, you're already putting them in a battle wagon, so you already have a certain amount of investment there that I'm not afraid to take and putting it with the Big Mac to give them more utility. So the big unit of boys, one unit is pure shooters for the Big Mac. Oh, that's awesome. That's very thematic. If you can throw them on a terrain piece, right? That's, woo. I mean, you can't because the Big Mac has them, but if you could put a weird boy with the shooters, put them on a building, give them plunging fire in your terrain, that'd be hilarious. And it might get some kind of utility in a weird way. So yeah, what did this say? I got to run, but I want to kind of appreciate you popping green chubs for life. For life with the green chubs. Yeah. The chest beating thing just came out of nowhere. Sorry about that. Didn't know about this live. Saved by the bell, literally. Well, I appreciate you for even clicking the bell. Yeah, this is just like me throwing it in. I figured, why not? I want to have a chat with you guys. And if I can paint, I'll get to painting, of course. But it's very simple stuff. I just need to get some more things of purple going. It's always about chipping away at what you have your backlog to do, guys. You can't always just one shot it, especially if you're a busy individual. So I'm like, if I'm gonna be hobbying anyways, I might as well hobby with you guys and read what you guys got to say. I can, side kind of paint. It wouldn't be great painting, but it doesn't have to. I'm just getting this paint on the model, right? Those weird boys make it where you can have to account for any one of them to use the jump because you have the redundancy. Yeah, and your opponent constantly knows I'm going to take over. If they're one of those armies like Grey Knights where they just want to teleport wherever they want, you're like, well, I'll just teleport wherever I want, screen you out, have more LC than you if you try to tip in at 3 inches, and I'll still win. Especially with that 4-up invuln shooting, that actually does matter. You throw hard as nails on there, that unit will take a pounding. But like I said, the only thing you're really missing is some kind of way to throttle offensively with your boys other than the Waaagh, but you do have the kill rig to try, and you do have gas to try. So as long as you keep those units somewhat there when it's time to go, at least 2 of them time to go, throw 2 of those units away for scoring and playing the mission, you should be pretty good. I don't hate that list. I think it's good. Totally playable. It's going to come down to what you're prioritizing with your targets, with your mission play, what you're keeping available for your secondaries, how you're going to use your anchoring unit as your mega knobs, how you're going to get gas into the game and make sure you have a contingency plan for if the battle wagon gets one shot in turn 1. You have to account for those kind of things when you're deploying and such. Other than that, seems like a totally decent list. Let me read some of your chats real quick. Guys, help me understand how many freaking weapons can a battle wagon bring? It's the data sheet. It's a bit confusing to me. Okay, so let's see. Don't have the battle wagon right up on me. I know that you get the claw and you get the wrecking ball, and you're wondering. I'm assuming you're wondering if you get both because they say extra attacks. And let me see. I actually want to know now too because I love the battle wagons, and I could assume, but I want to know exactly what that says. And of course, chat, you guys give feedback if you want to, if you guys want to argue, because that's the whole point of this, right? Everybody, what's your interpretation? So it says it can have one of the wagons, it can have a lava, this can have 4 big shooters, this has 1 death roller if it places the wheels. So this model can be equipped with any of the following. So it says any of the following, that means it can have all of them. So it's the ard case, the grabbing claw, and the wrecking ball. It doesn't say and or such like that. It just says can equip with any of these. So it's by your choice and your decision, and it does say extra attacks. From what I understand, from what I remember, they both say extra attacks. Yeah, so you get all of it. Most people break them off. I think I think that's the one thing I'm missing on my battle wagon is the wrecking ball. And maybe I might be wrong about this because I'm just reading it right off the whim, but that's how I'm interpreting it. You can take any of the following. Doesn't say any or of the following. And when it does come to your choice, ard case is when you can equip, and then it tells you what you lose. You know, so. And yes, you only get one of the main guns, of course. Like I see, will you put that in there? But we're talking about, he's talking specifically about the grabbing claw and the wrecking ball, from what I understand. So yeah, of course, the main weapons are 1. You get the lava, of course. You get the 4 big shooters. But when it comes to the grabbing claw and the wrecking ball, I'm assuming you get both. And I should have just kept your chat up when you said that. I don't know why people were probably like, "What is this guy ranting about?" He's saying here. So many freaking weapons is a bit confusing. Yeah. So you only get one of the main weapons, right? So the main primary weapons as it sees, but as you go down, you get the lava. That's the indirect gun. You get the 4 big shooters. That's built into it. And then when it says you get any of these following, it's telling you can equip any of those as well. So yeah, as far as I understand, this looks good and fun way to crump. Yes, it does. I probably have to throw gas at the fairy things. Yeah, man, the scary things. Yeah, and run 4 mega knives with the big mech. That's where you have the kind of durability there. But they'll charge you 5th mega knobs when you add 4 get salty. Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. You start having to pay for that cost. So it really does come down to you. It's true. It's true because you have to pay for that difference in points, and you don't actually have that mega knob. That's an interesting problem to have, right? So it really comes down to how much you want to change your list, if you're going to go for it, anything like that. But more likely you want more mega knobs with the guy who brings back mega knobs, because once the unit's gone, the unit's gone. It's not like you can lose those 2 and then regen them back just because he's still alive. That's not how that works. Once the bodyguard unit's completely wiped, that character is now by himself. Put a shock attack gun in the truck with flash kits. In a normal mech, once your flash kits go out, you still have to shoot the truck. They can shoot like a tank. Yeah, oh, that's hilarious. That way you have a point for having the mech still in your list, right? Because a lot of people are like, I'll bring the flash kits, and then I'll put a mech there, and I give them +1 to hit while they're in the truck. This gives you a reason to keep that. We actually have seen some people, just if you look at BCP, which I do all the time, I'm just looking at what, because I don't care about what I do care, but not everything I think about or consider is just what are the top players doing and what they do to win. There's a lot of circumstances to what happens when you win at an event, who you ended up going against, what your meta is like, and that can't always, the terrain you're using can't always apply to everybody. So a better way to look at it is just look at the whole margin of what's even possible being used. All that to say, I've seen shock attacks being used even at the London GT. In their Discord, I was talking to one of our lads. I'll pull him up anyways when I get his name right here. But he brought a shock attack gun to the London GT, and he got like a 100th or something in place. So point is, yes, if you want to play with your shock attack gun, you're willing to play in the mech anyways because you intend to use the flash kits like that. Flash kits are totally meta unit. Why not take into your only tech piece a different kind of tech piece, put that with the shock attack gun, make him more reliable once he's already shooting. So that could be interesting and fun. Can you talk about the circumstances in which you've seen first and third turn Waaaghs work? Thanks. Yeah, actually, that was interesting. You bring that up. First turn Waaagh, I can bring up specifically what happened. So, let me just think right off the bat. I was playing against Knights, and we're playing I'm having off the top of my head, the deployment zone messed up the name because it changed, but it's the circle cut out in the middle, and then you're in the corner of the board, right? So what happens is you're only 18 inches away from your opponent at that point in the game, right? I knew right off the bat, because the knights he was playing, the fact that Chaos Knights can jump through buildings, they were big enough to move wherever they wanted and touch a bunch of my units, and I had a bunch of melee units and squigs. I knew I was going to have to go Waaagh. Whether I went first or second, it didn't matter. I needed the durability if I went second. I needed the offensive potential going first. That's where turn one Waaagh would matter. Sometimes if you think you're going to get alpha striked really hard, if the opponent can, that's really, really not ideal, right? Because the Waaagh is so important that after that, your opponent can just start pre-measuring you and they don't have to account for your extra mobility. But there's some circumstances where like if you're the second person going in the turn, I'm going to take a bunch of damage here, but once I touch them, they die. Let's say they're a guard army, right? Once you in there's a bunch of tanks. Once you start touching them, yeah, they can still blow you apart and kill you, but they can't start falling back and continue to play the mission if you run up and touch them. So if you really can touch someone or can deliver damage to someone, it's a long-term investment, or you need to stop an alpha strike, that's turn one. Now, turn three Waaagh, for example, which has happened to me, is actually against other melee armies. So against World Eaters, because they have all game advance and charge, because they have the ability to fight in death, and because they have what I call the Master of Indirect Combat, as the Master of Executions, he can essentially kill any character in the game as he re-rolls hits and wounds, and he gets like a 5 damage dev wound attack into characters. So if you haven't played against them, he's really annoying and horrible. So having to account for that and knowing that the way the guy I play is pretty much the number one World Eaters player in the world. He's not the guy in Australia. I'm talking about for 10th edition. The guy I play, he's literally, if you pull up this page, the page in the data sheet for all the 10th edition plays and games, the guy I play against is the number one World Eaters player in the world in 10th edition, period. Okay, name's Christian Valet. So I play against him, and he played World Eaters very differently, where he utilizes the Demon Prince, has a 6-up as the aura for 6 inches for a 4-up invuln. Then he'll use his cultists that have a built-in 5-up feel no pain as a first level of screening. Then he has brigands in the background to give shooting fire. Then he has, of course, his 8-bound, his demons. He brings 2 Mauler Fiends, because they have, when they're in Chaos, they have the when they're in World Eaters version, they have auto advance 6 potential from their strat. They have advance and charge. They have +2 if they hurt you, so the brigand will hurt you. Long story short, they have the ability to give me the initiative and screens at the same, like they can alternate. He can either throw something at me like a Mauler Fiend, or he can screen me with his cultists that aren't reliable to kill, even with volume, and then he can countercharge me as he sees that fit, right? So what happened was, what I had to do is I started to rotate the board on him, because I was slightly still faster than him with the Squig Hog boys, and he couldn't directly close the distance on me, because I could call the wall and advance and charge him and make up that difference in a different way from him. And with some of his units, like my Squig boys, I can tank it. So if you're really trying to, let's say, what happens sometimes when you're going against a melee army or someone that can kill you, and you're trying to time the time where you're going to get the Waaagh off, you'll start rotating. Like, say you start here, right? I'm here, they're here in our deployment zones. Sometimes you start rotating in a game of 40K, right? And in that rotation, it might take you one extra turn to get where you wanted to be. So when I was going against the World Eaters player, Christian, he'd take the center of the board, he took the other side of the board, and he pretty much put his cultist screen there and his Mauler Fiend. So I rotated away from that to get towards his weaker side of the line, where he didn't invest as much, to break through there. And then I set up my Waaagh on a turn 3. That way I could advance and charge into the middle of the table while still leaving some truck units and such, playing the middle enough to where he couldn't just walk over and attack wherever he wanted, even though he could advance and charge. So the long story point in that is, when you're sometimes repositioning, especially against another melee army, I had to do it against the Chaos Demons player I played as well, where I called a turn 3 Waaagh, and he ended up getting like 3rd at the GT, and me and him talked after, and he was like, yeah, it's very rare that an Ork player doesn't call it turn 1 or 2, and it was smart that you held on to turn 3. And I thought it was too, because he can pick up his units and redeploy them in the battle at will, as the Chaos Demon player. And so I couldn't necessarily just throw everything at his big Nurgle. He was all Nurgle demons, all big, thick Chungus boys with soul reapers, whatever they're called, the guys with the cannons, and they had indirect strength 7 weapons and such, and they have really good melee. So the point was, and all that, is I had to rotate the board on him, so I can kind of because when they don't know when you're going to call the Waaagh and you have the Waaagh potential, it messes up their math. Because remember, when you're playing 40K, it's very important to pre-measure all your opponent's possibilities. So a lot of the time, I'll walk up to my opponent's side of the board or whatever he's doing. Please hold your model, and I'll hold it. He holds his model down, boop, so there's no bumping, right? You don't want to bump anybody. Hold his model real quick. I'll measure. Oh, you move this much? Okay, and this is your line of fire, right? I'm saying this, and some people are like, of course you do that. Well, think about it. If you do it for everything, plus you have to account for a D6 and a charge from Orks, then it messes up everybody's potential. And some people will either not consider it, get really close to you, or they will over consider and think you're going to automatically roll a 6 when you're not. You can still roll a 1 in advance, and they'll stay too far back. So even the potential risk of it when you're going against another melee army or army that doesn't really want you to close the distance with them yet, sometimes if you have a good enough terrain, if the mission calls for it, and you don't really have to invest yet because you can slowly play the middle of the board and slowly rack up points, then yeah, you might want to wait for turn 3 Waaagh so you can reposition around the board, sometimes get into a better position where more units can jump out from behind terrain and charge rather than just the middle of the board. So long story short, that's why. And it's a skill thing. Once you learn, you have to be patient and also know what can your units take that you have on your list, right? There's sometimes your unit can take it, or hey, this is going to die. I'm going to fight in death with it. I don't need the wall right now. I'm just willing to fight in death with it. And we're going to try to get a trade going. That matters too. So thanks. Sorry I over-ranted to anybody. You're the best knob here. Whoa! I think I got your list too, actually. Walday. But thank you. If gas on the wagon, then you can't use the big guns on it. Yeah. Yeah, for gas. Poor gas. No, I mean, I love him. You going to carry one big gun? Yes, sir. I'm trying to catch up to some of these because I went on a rant there. Yes, you can get everything on the real jacket. Only real choice you have to make is choose between the cannon, kill cannon, and the zap gun. Exactly. That's what's awesome about the battle wagon. I love that thing. One of my favorite models, guys. Literally one of my favorite models. Grotz rules, boys rule, fight me. Let's see what list we have here, actually, because I don't want to fight over you yet. But I'll crump you. All right, so let's see what this list we have here. Remember, guys, I'm getting used to this. Bam. So we have Mr. Richie's list. So it started off 2,000 points. There's a 3,000 point list somewhere in here too as well. Big mech in mega armor, of course. I like that we're bringing up the big mech, the mega knobs, guys. I really do like to see that. I think it does matter. Not that my opinion is super valid all the time, or even to all of you all the time, but I have an inclination and feeling based off what I've been seeing since I look over BCP. The mega knobs do matter now, and they're starting to get played more. Death Killer War Truck with Follow Me Lads. I think Follow Me Lads is always great utility if you can afford it. I think this model also greatly benefits from a foil Feel No Pain. So if you can put this on other, we'll see what else you got, but you might want to put that on somebody or find a way to get a Feel No Pain. But if not, he's great because that makes him so fast if you're going to keep that. But I also like the 4 Feel No Pain, is all I'm going to say. Captain Badrock, Mazrog Scrag Bag, Nobman Smasher Squig with Ed Wappa's Kill Chopper. That's what I love to see. Nobman Smash Squig, Nobman Smash Squig. Ooh, we got a lot of Knobs and Smash Squigs here. One truck. Battle Wagon, more Battle Wagons. Flash Gits. Of course, Flash Gits are great utility right now. 1 unit of Gretchen. 1 unit of Mega Knobs with Twin Kill Sauce. Twin Kill Sauce. Maybe you left to shoot as an accident. I assume you meant to have Twin Kill Sauce on everybody. Squig Hog Boys, 3-man unit, 3-man unit. Oh, that's interesting to have the actual knob with the 3-man unit. I can talk about that. I have experience with them. Storm Boys, and then 1 big unit of War Bikers for the Follow Me Lads. So you just have that great missile, get down the field. And yeah, but like I said, Feel No Pain might be more interesting too, or just as interesting, depending on your terrain. If you don't have like dense tables, you really might need to close that distance very quickly. And so you're just like, no, I need to Follow Me Lads because I need a chance to really, really get in there. But at the same time, for a Feel No Pain on someone like that is pretty crazy. Like points per point, how durable he is. He's like 95 points at that point. So yeah. So what I was gonna say is you brought knobs on Smash a Squig for 3-man units. I don't hate it and I don't love it, but I've actually done it. So only thing that matters is I think he's a great point cost. 60 points, you're pretty much getting 1.5 squigs. He makes the rest of your squig boys very useful, reliable. The mounts are hitting on 3s now. The guys on top are hitting on 2s. He gets his handful of attacks as well. During the wall, it's on 3s for him, so it can actually matter when you're going into something. So when it comes to skirmishing, he only increases the point cost for that unit just a little bit. But instead of you running around the 3-man unit, getting 1 picked off, and now these 2 guys are unreliable to kill anything, him plus 2 guys is still reliable to skirmish into anything at that points range. That's why I don't hate it. Why I don't love it is you're giving away certain secondaries a lot, and I just wonder if having other units would matter more. That's all. It's not that I hate it or love it. That's where I've actually run it into a lot of games. to where it's like, oh, no prisoners, that character and that guy in that unit, they're right there, easy to kill, bam, take you out. But this makes it so when you have a 3-man unit and one guy gets picked off, that knob keeps that 2-man unit effective at fighting. Even the knob with one dude can be somewhat effective as fighting. So it's actually pretty great. So I don't hate it at all. I think run it if you have the models, if that's what you want to run it to fill up points. There's literally nothing wrong with it. I think it's totally viable for playing. And like I said, I like the mega knobs up in this list. So this list has a little bit of everything, right? Maybe the battle wagon. More people would probably bring trucks or something. The one thing that this list doesn't have is knobs with power claws. You guys know that I personally love knobs with power claws. I call them my scalpel unit. I think they're very problem solving, but if you don't own them, you don't feel like running them, you're not going against a bunch of power armor, or if you're willing to rely on the big mech and mega armor and his mega knobs for that, then that's great too. I'm just saying that this list has most of the great utility units that you're going to want on your orc list. It has the flash kits. It has the one big unit of Squig Hog Boys. It has Mazrog's Crackback. The Death Killer Wartrike is great with his ability to score points right away, be durable, move, block, stand around, make the war bikers actually able to kill something for once. But yeah, the only thing that I would ever say about this list is one, maybe consider the For Feel No Pain instead on this guy, right? And then if so, maybe if you have different units, you can drop this guy. The difference in the points of that can give you a different unit for more scoring or anything like that. But other than that, I like the list just fine. And like I said, I'm only giving criticism because not criticism necessarily, feedback, because I assume that's what you want. But other than that, it has your scoring units. It has 2 Storm Boys, 1 Biker, 3-man unit Squig Hog Boys, which are totally fine like that. Maybe another units of Gretchen, I would say, for screening. Something I think is important for an orc player is do not let people get in your backfield. Constantly be aware of your screening. So in my opinion, that's only the other thing I would ever say is looks totally fine. For a Feel No Pain might to be considered, somehow getting Grats on the list instead of another Knob Bounce Magic Squig on the list. Other than that, totally good. Totally good. Love it. And this is for the revolution, but I'm going to look at what the chat says after this. Maybe if someone disagrees with me. Bonus. Whoa! So David, where's David? So David's editing, right? David literally does the editing. He typically only gets on the stream with me on Fridays, because this is kind of my responsibility and privilege, is to interact with the community and talk and be fun and get to know what you guys want and like. And then it's up to him to actually edit down some certain content and videos, right? Because we also record other things. Like we record the Stomping Ground shorts. We're recording combat patrols and bat reps, such like that. So David spends his time learning how to edit because him and I didn't have any background in any of this. We were just hobbyists that one day were like, dude, there's no just orc community going on. What's going on here? I'm tired of this. And then I was like, I'll do it. Whoa! And then David was like, yeah, for sure, let's do it. And then David was like, yeah, I'm gonna be the Big Mac. And David is the Big Mac in that sense. So he's very helpful and very important, but he can't always be on the stream, even though I know he likes to be. Wall turn 3. Whoa! Turn 3 is a good priority target mission because score more points in the last round. And you still have stuff to put on the objective turn 5. Yeah. So if you're going second in some of those missions, you're going to score at the end. Another way to just try to stay alive. Like you said, it does come down to your mission, what's happening, who you're going against, stuff like that. Orcs are very, I don't say this to gatekeep or make anybody feel any kind of way, but you notice that the more you play games, that Orc are a very skill-based army. It's very important that you understand the movement phase, deployment, because you have so many models and you can get in the way of each other. You don't have too many shenanigans like other armies that you can get take backsies almost to fix things. It's really like, boom, you run up, you're here to fight, you're here to scrap, you're here to score points, you're here to control your rate of attrition until you score enough points to be tabled sometimes. It's important that as an orc player, you understand the basics, because the basics are how you're going to win the game at 40K, considering that we are more or less playing, very important that we play the movement phase, but we're playing the combat phase primarily. Our shooting is there. Some shooting units matter, but because we know that we're not going to get reliable shooting in that phase, and combat is the harder phase to play in 40K, it means you have to understand the basics, the difference between pylons, consolidations, base-to-base contact, covering the distance when you're trying to get around terrain and actually moving your models correctly so you're not either cheating yourself or your opponent. corners, right? Watching corners, making sure you're not getting shot, that you actually ask your opponent, this is my intention to actually not be seen here. Can you see? If so, I still have 2 inches of movement. I can took this if I have to. Those things are very important when you're an orc player. I promise you that. And the more you think that you're willing to accept that you are playing in a different kind of difficulty and way of the game, it's a shooting game. Warhammer 40K is a war in space with guns and lasers and missiles and artillery and spaceships and aircraft, and we are hitting people with choppers and sluggers and throwing grenades and stick bombs. That's what we do, and that's what we do in the game. So we close the distance, we throw grenades, we shoot sluggers, we get into combat, we crump, we loot their bodies after, and we have a great time. That being said, messing up your deployment, your movement phase will mess you up. So we just all have to accept that as orc players, that it's going to be hard sometimes when you're getting used to the faction in the army, and taking losses is just a part of learning our faction as a whole, because that's why orcs is never beaten. That's why we have that saying. David only shows out for the big shows. Eddie handles the work a day peasant show because I'm a peasant. Yeah, so David just comes on Fridays. Does cover apply to a whole unit or just model by model? Cover goes by per unit, typically on all the time in 40K. So yes. Thanks for answering that wall question. Never thought about the threat of the Waaagh being a weapon itself. Thanks. Oh, great. Great. I'm glad that I made sense, because I was ranting there for a second, boy. Just got in what I miss. We do it live. Whoa! Or I was listening to Catachan Jungle Fighters, great audible book. I know it's like also kind of about Catachans, but it's great when it talks about the Alakram, the blood axes. Long story short, when they did their Waaagh, they did it like a really cockney, like, whoa! And I thought it was just so hilarious. I was listening to it at work and I was just cracking up. So now whenever I go to Waaagh, I have to stop myself from doing it in that obnoxious, silly way. Hilarious thing is no one remembers knobs. Take ammo runs. Yes, for every 5 knobs, so a 10-man unit can pop lethals on the pistol twice per game. That's 2 per wounds per shooting phase. Yes. That's something that even I forget sometimes. A lot of the time, I think it's also because when the knobs come out to play, it's Waaagh day. You know what I'm saying? Whoa! Usually it's like when you come out with those knobs, you're advancing and charging into something. That's why I call them a scalpel unit, because you're really trying to get in there and do combat. You're really trying to deliver against a problematic unit. You're really trying to solve a problem with knobs, right? That's the point. They're there to crack skulls, take beaky heads, and stuff like that. So that is something to remember. I'm not saying it's not something to remember. It very much is. I think a lot of the time what we forget when we're playing with our knobs is that we're ready to crump and get into model, right? You guys are great. Best orc channel out there. Keep it up. Oh, that's mighty nice of you to say. You get, whoa! We're trying here. That's the whole point, is to be a primarily orc channel. There's a lot of other orc good content out there. It's fantastic. I love those guys. They give me something to watch and stuff too. But this is a just strictly orc channel. We can talk about things. We can talk about this stream. We can talk about anything in general, right? We can talk about Starship Troopers. I love that. We can talk about games, because I have a gaming computer now. I was wondering if anybody wanted to play certain games. I know there's a Speed Free game. When that comes out, we're gonna have to play. But I'm down to maybe, weekend gaming. We can set that up. We can talk to you guys. Why not? So, and I'm not like a great gamer anymore. A lot of us don't game as much as we used to, right? So it's not like you have to be a great gamer. I like strategy games and stuff like that. Some shooters like World War Z, or Earth Defense Force 5. If you have not heard about Earth Defense Force 5 and you're a Warhammer 40K person, you can appreciate that game. You might not appreciate the graphics, but you can appreciate Earth Defense Force 5. Cover is for each model, not the entire units. Exactly. Weird boys, word boys, paintballs, infiltrators, wee banners, deep strike, psychers, etc. All the weird abilities, which are the most deceptive and tricky, that can be used to get weird. Okay. I'm thinking, I'm looking at them. So I think the direct question is, of course, being able to utilize movement in any kind of different way, like the weird boy to teleport, is always going to matter greatly in 40K, guys. Remember, movement is actually what wins the game, right? So anything that can mess with the movement is going to be number one. So one, weird boy, because he's constantly going to be threatening the entire game, that he can end up anywhere at any time and always deliver units to where people don't want them. So one, would be Weird Boy. 2 would be Deep Strikers, because Rapid Ingress is so powerful now. Like we heard earlier from Brandon, we're just putting Maz now in reserves. Now he wants to do it all the time and ingress him. So it's like Deep Strike, because of Rapid Ingress. That used to not be a thing, guys. You could not do it on your opponent's turn, but that was a great way to make it so much more effective, so much more useful to the game. So Deep Strike really matters a lot because you can Rapid Ingress a lot. So both of those, so it would be Weird Boys first, then Deep Strike. Now, infiltrators. Infiltrating units are actually important when you're an orc player to understand how they can hurt you, actually. Because right now we play with a lot of trucks, a lot of squigs, Mazrog, units that can infiltrate, such as Nurglings, other people's commandos, Space Marines. Not necessarily the more expensive units because people don't want to like trade those, but Nurgling specifically. Even like Spore Mines, even though it's not infiltrating, but a unit that can move block, you have to consider is these units that can get right in front of you, move block the lanes from your by getting in the way of the road between your terrain, and then your squigs can't jump over them, your trucks can't drive through them. So you have to understand how infiltrators can actually greatly affect you in an orc in a negative way. I've seen on some of the BCP lists where people do bring a lot of squigs and a lot of big units, and they have a unit of commandos in there. And at first, I was like, commandos? Oh, you're paying that tax, 135 points for 10 boys and a bomb squig? Oh, and a breaching ram? But as you start to understand our weaknesses based off what terrain you're going to play on, right? You have to understand that each one of these players that we check on BCP knows what mission they're going to play on, the terrain they're going to play on. They know months ahead of time. Therefore, they're tweaking their list for it. So you need to understand that if you're going to play on boards where someone can move block you, they have the meta that they can move block you, it's happened to you, etc. There's small lanes, right? Then you need to maybe throw an infiltrating unit of ours onto your list, such as commandos, so that you can actually deal with or like Tyranids, of course. They have their now just a whole vanguard onslaught of stuff that wants to infiltrate and come in early and such. So infiltrating is very important as well. Paint Boys bringing guys back is going to be nice. Put more people on an objective, I guess. Psychers being able to deliver mortal wounds and shooting, totally cool as well. But yeah, those are how some things I think that are kind of getting overlooked and can be forgotten about as orcs because we don't use them as much. Oh, and the Waaagh banner. I actually really like the Waaagh banner for fun. I think it's totally useful. Have I found it to play competitively yet? No. If the knob with Waaagh banner comes down in points, that way you can give them follow me, lads, and not pay like out the booty for that unit, then okay, right? But when you start paying for his enhancement to give him +2 movement because you want his time that he calls a wall to be reliable, then all of a sudden he becomes very expensive. So if he comes down in points, he can become very much more effective too. So there you go. Boop. I swear, I heard that the original 40k lore had based orcs as Cockneys East London lads. I'm not surprised at all. If you haven't listened to orc lore, right, or if you want to listen to orc lore, literally, I'm working on the short, and I'm gonna have to do it much sooner than later. That there's some really fun Audible books that have orcs, and actually, at first glance, you're like, this is an Imperium book, like I just said, the Catachan Devil book, but that book is about 40% the orc perspective from the orc characters that have names, they have accents, how they talk, and everything. And yes, they have Cockney accents, and it's awesome. And the monologue between them, the arguments, the internal thinking, the strife is hilarious. So yes, I would say there's several orc books that are out there that talk like an orc does, and it's hilarious. It's great, and it's always a good listen to. So I just got Audible just for that, to be honest. Gaming channels on Discord soon. I want to run a 4-stack of Ogryns in Darktide. Yeah, what do you play that on? That's what I'm wondering. I've never set up the gaming channel, but I'm down to do a gaming channel. We get together, group of lads, bam, we can cycle people out if they're going to play with me, and then people can play together in other parties, and then we keep cycling with each other, whatever it has to be. But yeah, it's Darktide. I assume Darktide's on Steam. I haven't got to play it because I don't have a PS5. I have a PS4, so when I don't have the new Xbox either, etc. But that's the point. Is yes, I'm down for gaming. We can set that up. Hit me up directly, whatever it has to be. Let's talk about it or talk about it now. But I want something that could be something we can do on Sundays or Saturdays, whatever. But I'm down for gaming. I'm down for some Pong. What? What does that mean? Like, I just caught me off guard. You mean like Pong, like the Pong table? I don't know what's happening. I don't know what Pong is. I'm sorry. Does anyone think we might get an orc model for October, or we might just need to wait for the codex for the new sculpts? There's been times that GW doesn't do anything for October when it comes to new models, other than like, a little badge or something. So I would love to see a new model. If you're going to talk about is there a new model, what would the new model be? Hmm? Hmm? I've seen somebody trying to point out that when they did the initial Ork like talk release in the Ork Warhammer community, that it showed the beast boss on Squig, and in the background between a Morkana and like a typical Death Dread, that there was some other mech back there. So people think that there's some kind of different walker coming in. Some people think there's an orc named character coming in. Some people think that the old sculpts need new ones, like Captain Batterock, for example. He's actually been in a more recent orc book as one of the side characters that's important to the actual main storyline. And he's been in one of the more popular books. I mean, more recent books. So he's becoming a more popular character they brought back. They brought back Snickra, and I haven't heard a book about him ever, maybe. So I don't know if that's just me, but why not Captain Badra? EDF 5 is a blast from the past. Not even had a download on Steam in over 2-3 years easily. Yeah, if you put too many hours into EDF, then you're like, I'm done. I destroyed enough of everything. But if you haven't played EDF, and if you didn't have a group of people to play EDF with, then you can pick up EDF at any time and have a great time. EDF is fun. Even if you have like kids, you can play it with your kids. It's an old school like split screen co-op game where you guys just run through arcade missions over and over. It's like 100+ missions. It can be cheap. It's like a cheap game overall. So yeah, I picked it up and I like play with my nephews. I play with friends from work, whatever. So EDF 5 is freaking awesome. I had such a great time with it, especially because I don't game as much anymore. So I was able to play with it and not feel like I was out of my box. It was really fun. I played with the mech dude. I have a brain fart what he is, but I played with the mech dude a lot, and I was OP. I retired until expired. There we go. I'm up for a gaming session or two. Let's go. I hope you guys meet on the PC, hopefully, right? Because that's what I'm talking about right now. I mean, we could figure it out also on like PlayStation and Xbox, but I don't have as many games. You can rapid ingress stuff from reserves without the deep strike keyword. Yeah, as long as it's at the correct time, you can use rapid ingress on stuff that comes in from strategic reserves. Yes, as long as you're still within the rules. You can't do it turn one. I think they might show hints of the Christmas box on Warhammer Day, but that's just me being positive. I think you're being positive, but it's not out of question. Um, what was his Master of Ulrix was saying that we're going to get a Beast Snagger box. Totally possible. Totally possible. I would love to see that. I could use a couple more Squig Hogger boys. I could use about 20 more Beast Snagger boys. Ooh, what else could I use? Oh, I can use a Pain Boss. I can use another Beast Boss. What else can I use? Ooh, another Kill Rig. What's up? EDF 5 is a super grand game. Champion number 1. Whoa! I don't know why I did that, but yeah, I felt that way about EDF 5. Okay, that's just how I feel. Been wanting to try Dark Tide again since the update. How do you guys feel about Dark Tide? I've heard like that it sucks, that people hate it, I think it looks totally fine. It looks cool, stuff like that. Gonna have to pick up that Catachan Devil book if it has Blood Axe in it. That sounds awesome. Yes, you should. I promise you, you will appreciate it because it has blood axes in it. It has blood axes that deal with death calls, and it's fun to see how they're different. And it's just great. I don't want to ruin any of it. Just get it and you'll love it. There's not many videos on orc lore in YouTube. It would be great if you guys make some. There is some. I guess elaborate on that, right? There's like sporadic videos here and there that are like orcs are a fungus that is found in your toes. No, I'm just kidding. But what exactly do you mean? Like, how do orcs originate? How does their societies work? Like, there's a lot to that. And then there's, the second edition stuff that went the most into it. Like, even this Squig Pie talks. This is because in the second edition book, it talks about how there was essentially boys that made food. You know how there's boys for everything, right? Because it's in the genetic code as an orc when you're born that you just do things once the wall's a certain size. So there was boys that made brew boys that were, I think they were called brew boys, that would make like the mushrooms brew, and they would make squig pies, and they would do stuff like that. But that second edition, back when the orcs were seen like a almost humanoidly pirate type of thing, and then it kind of developed through if you listen to like Assault on Black Reach, where they were more seen as like a force of nature, and then now they've been brought back to like a more relatable cockney, personable kind of creatures that all have their own minds. So it's depending on what version of orcs you listen to at what point in the multiple editions is what your understanding is of the orc lore. That's what makes it so convoluted. So people, instead of going in and being like, well, in second edition and in sixth edition it was this, it's like what actually happened was, as it developed, GW changed how orcs were kind of perceived and how they wanted them to look. So we can talk about any variation of that. I'm just letting you know that there are orc lore, like I think, was it Baltimore maybe, that did like the Quarks video. I would say listen to like the Quarks video. If you just look it up, that the Quark video is probably like 2 hours long. It's a great video about Quarks, like the pretty much the ancestors of the orcs and what happened to them. So we could try to do some. I thought about it. I just didn't know how I wanted to go about it. And lore is one of those things that is very, there's a bunch of orc lore all over the place. So if you guys could kind of narrow it down what you guys want me to actually talk about specifically, I could, because I love to talk about orc lore and stuff, and I'll try to correct people, and they're like, dude, I don't care. What are you doing? And I'm like, yeah, but orcs don't just believe stuff. They're also smart. And then people are like, shut up. I'm like, okay, well, I read this book, Okay, so Dark Tide is on Steam and Xbox PC, but not on PlayStation. I own the Steam version, and I maxed out 3 classes on the Xbox version. Okay. So it is on there. And it's funny because Warhammer Vermintide 2 is actually how I got into the hobby, essentially, right? I played Vermintide because it was on my Xbox, I believe, at the time, and I'm always down to play games with people I know, that are trying to be my, that are just my friends that I can hang out with, that I don't want them to over-invest in. As we get older, it's harder to invest in games that are skill-based, right? So it's like, let's just do a game that's just getting stuck in, lads, right? And so Warhammer Vermintide, Bowda. And I remember I was going by a Warhammer store, driving and stuff. And then I was like, what's that Gears of War guy doing over there? Right? Because at a big Space Marine in the Warhammer store. And I was like, Gears of War over there, Phoenix, right? So then I just eventually kind of mosey on in there, like, what's going on here? Why is the Gear of War guy in the Warhammer store? Because Warhammer for me was Age of Sigmar from what I've seen from that game, Vermintide, or is that the Magic World? I don't know anything about Age of Sigmar, but the point is, it was fantasy. Then I walk into the store, and that's actually how I got into Warhammer, was because Vermintide, and then Vermintide is essentially Dark Tide, so I'm totally down to play it in that roundabout way I just said it. But I ranted at you because that's what I do. I'm hoping for a non-Forge World Grot tank, yeah, and Squig riding Grots, right? Okay, that's cool. They do have, the AOS ones that you could like proxy in, so I don't know if they'll do that, but Grot tanks that aren't Forge would be excellent. And they just need to bring all of our tanks from Forge World. The Kill tank, the Grot Mega tank, the Grot tanks, all of that. Just throw it up and make it plastic. The fact that you don't have enough, I feel like we don't have enough armor, mech, tank choices for orcs. As much as I love running the Green Tide, and yes, we do have some walkers and I'm working on, but I want to see just more tanks, because right now people just use the battle wagon, and a lot of the time the battle wagon is seen as our tank, but it's more or less more about being a transport. And there are stuff like the Grot Mega Tank that has a bunch of rockets and it rerolls and it has reduced AP by 1. It has good rules, but good luck finding one, right? So that's a good one. That's a good call out regardless. Anyone else, no pong, or am I the old man in the chat? I have to look it up. I just, while you're live, things can go over your head sometimes, but it might be that we just don't know what it is. My bad. So yes, sir. Not gonna lie, I was second guessing choosing orcs after. Oh yeah, that's very common. I first 6 games I played were losses. Thanks to YouTube channels like you boys, I got stuck in. Well, thank you for saying that. I greatly appreciate that. That comment. Let me see. Drum my finger. Is exactly why I started to make the channel, and I didn't care to make it about competitive play necessarily or just battle reports. It's because I know when I got into Warhammer, I was like, all right, guys, I got my 90 boys and gas. What are we doing here? What are you doing here? And then they were like the Hand of the Iron Hands, if you guys know what that was in 8th edition. And they were like, I have these walker guys, and they have guns, and I reroll everything. And I just shoot you a lot, and I can kill 30 boys in one shooting phase. Ready? And then I was like, my guys are gonna shoot. What? I got a pistol on fire. What's up? I feel like I was being cheated. I was like, what faction is this? What's happening? How come these people can annihilate from me from the other side of the board? How come they get all these super rules? How come I have no AP? Because choppers didn't have AP back then. Why do they get great armor saves and my guys die on 6s? Like, what is this? And it was just, if you don't, especially if you're barely starting to understand tabletop wargaming, which is where I was at, and then you're played with the faction that's playing pretty much one of the hardest, if not the hardest way to play Warhammer, which is specifically playing melee only, then you can easily be like, this isn't for me, I don't like this and such. So it actually does matter a lot. I really do make me feel a lot better because yeah, that's really what it's about. It's more newer play where people casually too, just playing with like whatever they want to. I care about a lot. But specifically keeping people in orcs is what this channel is about too. Growing the orc community, getting more orc people to stay in the faction of orcs, to play it how they want, to understand the orc nature in Warhammer 40K, as in the community of Warhammer 40K, because you have the hobbyists, you have the painters, you have the old-timey players that have been around for a long time. I don't know why I'm using both hands. You have all these different really top tier people in orcs, in the understanding of orcs. But then you have the competitive player somewhere here in the middle, which kind of could diverge from all these different people that are skill based, right? But sometimes what happens is, because there's only content based around orcs that is competitive for the most part, or primarily about the competitive scene, you lose out on all these skill-based people, or they just kind of separate. This is to bring all of the creative people, the lore-friendly people, the people who have been in orcs for such a long time that they dwarf my faction, let's say my collection, the newer people getting involved, the people that are more about the lore, so that we can bring up the old-timey orcs up to the new lore, and they can actually appreciate that for what it is now too. Like, it's about all of that in our faction, because we lack that as a faction. And you know how I know that? Because when I look at BCP, there's other factions that have just so much more players than us, or we're barely more played than GSC sometimes. And GSC is such a niche faction. So it's like, this is really about bringing up the community as a whole, as into like keep new players in, keep people though who are narrative players in for playing the way they want to play. I've gotten some messages from like that too. People are like, dude, I just played with Ludas. Somebody brought Ludas, a shock attack gun. Gosh, I should have just pull up his name because we were talking. And he was just like, and I did great at the London GT. So his name was Graham Russell. So shout out to Graham Russell. He's in our Discord with like a yellow toaster picture, I guess. But he used like a silly list. He brought some buggies, everything like that. I think he won like 4 games. He did great. And that's the whole point of this channel too, is he like, I just play with whatever I want. He didn't even have a bunch of Squig Hog boys. And that's what we want to promote here more than anything, because a lot of people are really good players, a lot of really good ideas. But at the end of the day, people play Warhammer in a lot of different ways, especially Orcs, because we have a crazy model line collection. And based off your meta and terrain you're playing on, really can determine what your list can be. That's the only limitation sometimes, the Orcs. I entered the Discord. Right now, I'm in a 7-game losing streak, but I'm closer to getting my first 2K game, to win my first 2K game. Yeah, and that's literally a part of learning orcs. That's what happened to me too. I bet most orc people are going to tell you that when they first got into the faction, they were just getting shot off the table. One thing is for you to understand is sometimes it really does come down to, are you even playing enough terrain on the table sometimes? Whatever store you're playing at, sometimes they don't have enough. Sometimes 2 people have been playing constantly against other shooting armies. Both guys are okay with the table being completely open. They don't care about what the book considers. That might need to be taken into consideration as well. Don't go in there and complain and make it your benefit, because then you're just jumping from terrain to terrain to charge. But there is, times where people just don't know. Just they've never played against a melee army. There's literally times where people have never played against a full melee army, and they don't know that the table literally has guidelines on how much space you want, hypothetically, even if you don't play with the bases. So make sure that's a factor too, that when you're playing and you're a new player, you understand that one, playing with orcs is about learning how to control your rate of attrition, and you are sometimes dying, right? Sometimes we're like Russia in that sense, right? At the same time, I mean Russia like historically in wars. Okay, I'm not making fun of Russia right now, but in wars. And what I'm saying is, you have to control your rate of attrition and take over the board and score the mission and play the mission. You have to understand when you're going to take losses, when you're going to throw models into the middle of the board because you just have to play, when you have to throttle because of the Waaagh, because it's the one-turn ability. It's a lot of skill and niche going into playing orcs. So it does take patience, hearing from people, getting more and more games in. And yes, you'll learn to love it, because every win is fulfilling. When people are like, do you do shenanigans? And you're like, nah, bro. I just get stuck in and I just beat you up. And then you just throw buckets of dice at them. And you're like, are you dead yet? Most of the time they're like, yeah, bro, you just threw 30 wounds at me. What are you talking about? So that's why it's hilarious. I'm old, but never heard of Pong. Sorry, Fedora, you might have shown your age. Okay, or you might just be from somewhere plays different games. I don't know. Best lore master material is Baltimore and Vox in the Void. I like Vox in the Void. He has like those freebooted one. Storyline is kind of fun. Darktide is actually how I got into Warhammer 40K. Sweet. There you go. So like this, almost like me and you, but different time pins, like we're in a parallel universe and Marvel universe. Pretty much that's what's happening with us. A gargantuan squig off. Whoa! I hadn't got a wall in a long time. It's been kind of a minute, huh? It's been a minute since I walled. So yeah, I'm actually getting one from Daggers. Shout out to Daggers, to where I'm actually getting a gargantuan squig off. Bam. So I'm going to be running that most likely at like an RTT or maybe a GT even. I think like near me, they're kind of getting filled up, but I'm trying to work on the battle reports right now, content. But I'm looking to go to more events just because they're fun. I mean, like, I'm not saying I'm going to run to every GT in the world, but I want to go to RTTs just to get more games in against a bunch of different factions so I can report back to you guys on those matchups and be a bit more fun like that. The Ork Commissar. Yes. That thing about orcs being more of a force of nature is how they're depicted in Hell's Reach. Just the faces tied, no major characters is very different compared to Brutal and Cunning. Exactly. GW was trying to find their place, right? Because what happened between this, second edition where they're kind of like pirates, and then they're like, oh, now they're just a force of nature, but then there's Tyranids, and they're like, well, Tyranids are kind of a force of nature, right? We can't have two factions like that. And they're like, didn't they have accents? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, they're kind of humanoid. Let's just do that. And so that's what they are now, and it does matter. It's very fun. The comedic part of orcs very much tells in their books. It's really much there. It gives you the idea that orcs don't really have that concept of evil or hate necessarily. They get frustrated, they get mad, but more for the most part, they're just reacting, they're just having a good time, and they're just playing. So that's why it's important that, like, if you listen to Hell's Reach, if you read the second edition Orc Codex, or you still own one, and you read how that is, all of those things are still true to some extent. But you got to add the fact that now orcs actually have personalities. They think independently, they act different, they have different intentions and understandings and different interpretations of things. But yet they all still agree to some basic kind of like characteristics and traits of biggest is best, stuff like that. Even if they don't necessarily believe it's all about Gork, they can still favor Mork. But the point is, they'll still always revert to there are rules. There are certain rules that if two orcs have beef, they get to handle their beef among each other. Other orcs aren't going to get involved and jump in. That's one thing, right? There's a bunch of if orcs steal from each other, for example, they steal each other. One orc gets to fight the other orc because you stole from him. End of day. You're not going to jump them. You're not going to be mad about it. You get to do with it. So you get to hear these kind of like strifes that they have between each other, how they collect their teeth, how clans kind of come together, etc. Brutal but Cunning, best book. That is one of the best books. It might be the best because it's like the most straightforward about just straight up orcs. But I'll tell you what, War Bosses is actually an excellent book as well. And then there's some side like it's called Blood of Lax or whatever. That's actually a Space Marine book, right? But if you can like rip through the Space Marine parts, there's some very interesting orc parts that are orc specific characters and like stuff that's happening in there that you would not find in other books that are like just straight up in that. And I'll just tell you right now what it's about, and then be ready. I'm a spoiler about what Blood of Lax is about. 3, 2, 1. Essentially, Orc War Boss is a compilation of orc pieces into one orc that is barely alive due to his pain boy keeping him alive with drugs. So he's not even like necessarily just an orc. He's like a Frankenstein orc. But it's a Space Marine book. But they have this whole side narration and conversation of what's happening with this essentially Frankenstein orc. So I listened to that book just to have that going, and it was actually excellent. It was actually a really fun book. Even though I didn't really care too much for the Space Marine parts, but they were all right. It was good enough. Also, Dark Tide is cross-platform, and I would love to show you around after the update. Hit me up in Discord as well, because I'm actually interested in that. I've been interested in trying to get a little gaming on. I'm not going to play too often, so I'll definitely suck, but I'm just good enough to get in the way. What's with the long between whoa for a few hours? I don't know. I was just getting stuck in the chats, maybe because I was trying to keep up in chats and I don't want to just wah in people's ears all the time. But I mean, if you guys want me to wah, you know what to do. You know what to do. All right, you know what I'm saying? Get them wah. I'm gonna jump. Most people, no joke, most people back in the day know about 40K because of the Dawn of War series. And I actually wanted to get into Dawn of War as well. I don't. Nobody ever hit me up on that. I don't know if the game's died now. I heard number 2 was excellent. I don't know about number 3. Some people still love number 1 and such like that, but I'm down to play that too. Whatever game we can do, just let us know. Let me know. Let the Discord know. We can set something up. So I might set up a gaming channel for that. Also, tell me you guys are actually working on and such. Let me look at one of the other lists we have here. This is for the Revolution, actually. So we're definitely going to hit this one up. This is our favorite Grot resident. I'm just kidding. Yeah. So let me look at this. Bam, bam. So for the Revolution, we already know who this is from. Fedora. So we got 1, 2, 3 mechs. One has Super Cyborg body, and he is the Warlord. 1 unit of Gretchen, 2 you automatically disqualified. You can't have 10-man units of Gretchen. You can't be saying all that about Grots and then have 10. What? You better bust out those buckets of Grots that you have hidden under your bed and put all 20-man units of Gretchen. It should be 22 models in there. It should be 20 Grots and 2 Run Hunters per. I don't want to see nothing else, but I'll accept it and continue. But just know, next time I expect at least 1 thick unit, and very much need to tell me why Wartsnag is not on this list, because he's actually very useful as well. So these are my 2 critiques, only because it is fun. Okay. Now we have Grot Mega. Oh, look at you with the Grot Mega Tanks. We were just talking about them. If you guys don't know, a Grot Mega Tank is let me just actually read a stats so that I'm not just making noises about it, but it actually has twin link rocket launchers on it. It has to do armor compendium, pulling it up. I know it also has reduce AP by 1 incoming. So it's T9, 12 wounds, 3 up save, 4 OC, moves 8 inches. Every time it's targeted, reduce AP by 1. Love that. And then its range weapons are just pretty much rockets, but they have twin linked into each of those. So we already know what rockets do. And I think that was pretty much its own ability. And it's about 110 points from what I remember. So I actually do like that. Oh, it says right there, 110 points. So yeah, I like these. If you're playing with the rockets and you're playing especially thematically for 110 points, 110 points is a indirect rocket chuck squig buggy. Difference is this is much more durable. The fact that it reduces AP, that it's strength T9, it has more wounds for the same amount of points. Of course, it has a very much different profile and benefit of its profile, but you're never going wrong with a bunch of rockets that are twin linked. So he has 3 of those. He has 1 unit of, what is this? Actually, 1 big unit of Grot tanks. So that would be awesome. Grot tanks are great, you guys. There's literally no reason why you should never not breed Grot tanks if you have them or if you're going to make them. They're not only fun, but they're very, very useful. The fact that they're so mobile, they have an ablative wounds, which just means they have separation of wounds between multiple models in the unit, right? So for the 310 points, instead of being it, we'll say a kill tank is 295 right now. That doesn't have ablative wounds because that is all in 1 model. So I mean, when I speak and I say ablative wounds, it's saying that it has a wound separated in that unit through between multiple models, which means anti-tank weapons are less effective, right? If your weapon is D6 plus 2 damage, and you don't actually you just roll a 1, and then that ground mega tank sitting there like, hey, I got 1 point of health left, and then you have to put a whole nother shot into it. That's actually annoying for your opponent and mess up their efficiency. So ablative wounds into a unit that is fast and doing decent damage with all those rockets that are getting rerolls is very nice as well. So Grot Mega Tank unit, brick, bam. Speaking of kill tank, you had it with the Giga Shooter. Giga Shooter is totally fine, right? You have sustained hits on that as well as a bucket load of dice. But I'm still in favor of using the cannon instead. You just want to throw thunder hammers down the field at a strength 14, essentially. It's like strength 14 minus 2, 3d6. Strength 14, I believe, minus 2, 5-3 damage profile. So if you're willing to, it's obviously no point change, but if your model's just not modeled like that, whatever, I would just say you might want to switch that. Mega with the mech guns with the Bubba Chugga. I'm not talking about Bubba Chugga's bad anymore. You know what? Bubba Chugga, roll that out. Ride the dice, like I like to say, guys. We're bringing that in. Ride the dice. That's what orcs do. And Bubba Chugga is an example of that. You roll it out. You hope that whatever you can see might want to get killed by that. Oops. The little bubbles. But I'm not going to say nothing bad about Bubba Chugga's killer. Mech guns, but mech guns are just excellent, I think. Well, they're good. I'll say 55, you're kind of like, hey, man, you're kind of pushing it. But your opponent always accounts for them. They don't really want to invest in anti-tank weapons shooting at them. It's a weird way of screening and shooting at the same time. So it's not bad to use mech guns at all. Totally viable on any kind of list you run. Like I said, though, I want to see some bricks of Grots, even if it's 1, but I need a brick. I need a big unit of Grots. I feel like you're holding back the Grots on me. And then I'd like to know why Wartsnaga is in there, but I can see you got triple mechs for that reason, and you have a bunch of units that you can buff with it. So there's nothing wrong with it. I think your list is excellent, very thematic, and it brings a bunch of rockets. So you can, to an extent, you can almost stat check people in a weird way because you have so many like weird units that I don't want to be taken out with anti-tank weapons, to a certain extent. Of course, if they have too much stuff, then maybe you'll die. But for the most part, skews win games too, guys. So in that way you can. And this is the next list we'll look at. Let me check chat real quick. But this is for 2Ks for UKTC. So I believe this is actually for a tournament. So we can get creative. We can get meta. All right, so tell me what you guys, what you guys want to talk about too, of course, right? So let me see what I missed here in the chat. 5 minutes too long between all right, between Waaghs. Yes, you're right. Omar, I enjoy watching the gameplay of massive battles between factions. Never played, but always wanted to. Right? I think you're talking about Dawn of War. I used to be into all of those games, this kind of strategy games like Age of Empires and stuff. Still love those games. Hey, shout out Bannerlord 2. Woo! I love that game. That game's like crack. So yeah. He says, now Orkborn with their way to live, and that's why they join a clan. And the misfits who don't fit in at the end, and freebooters, best pirates. Yeah. What you're saying is, when orcs are born, they're literally born to their clan. Their clan is their personality. That's it. There's not like a question there as to why. There's nothing creative as to it in that sense. Orc doesn't just decide they're going to be another clan necessarily. If an orc clan comes into contact with another clan that's been decimated, the war boss can take those guys in, but they don't necessarily become, blood axes or whatever, or death skulls. Now, can they eventually learn the ways of another clan? No, sometimes. It really, we've actually seen that in books that we can go and talk about a little bit. But generally speaking, the vast, vast majority is the orc is what it is. There's, of course, always exceptions to the rule, but 99% of the time, that clan is just his personality. He is the way he is because of how he was born that way. He was born that way. All right, gonna have to catch the replay. Look forward to hearing my list reviewed. Oh, sorry, Battle Nerd, that I took too long. Goodness, I'm sorry about that. I'll do a good job, hopefully. Dawn of War 2 was probably the best. I haven't tried 3, but I heard it was not amazing. The Orc campaign in 2 was fun. Okay, so we're getting excited about here. I'm getting excited. I'm down. So we got Dawn of War, Darktide, Pong. What else is another one? Those are the top 3 games so far, I believe. All right. Grovel Evolution must be on strike. See what I'm saying? Where the Grots at? They just brought all the armor. They were just like, no, and there's no killer cans either. But it's okay. You brought better stuff. But in my greenskin heart, I love the killer cans. Starting War Boss, and the second the stream is down. Ooh, okay. Here's what I'll say. It's great. I love that book. It's a great book. That's all I actually wanted to say. All right. The new Space Marine game looks really good. Yes, that's another one. All right, number 4, Christian, another one. Shout out to Christian being number 1 World Eaters player. Boop, boop, over here. Boop, boop, with that little puppy over there. Number 1 World Eaters in the world player right there. Yes, he is. Argue with me about it. Argue with him, actually. All right, so, yeah, let's see. I ordered that Forge World Kill Tank Armored Division coming soon. Whoa! That's exactly why we did the video we did last week about talking about what could come, right? Because you're going to have to get ahead of that now, guys. We already know how Forge World models disappear. Good luck finding a Gargantuan Squig or Grot Kill Tank, stuff like that. So it's like, get ahead of what you think you're going to want to play, because we've seen what can already come out from the detachment rules. They're not going to catch us off guard. We understand there's going to be a mech wall. There's going to be a speed wall. There's going to be a green tide. We know that because we literally see them in the Tyranids and Space Marine books. We can, there's deductive reasoning here we can do, guys. We can be cunning. And of course, we can still put this through ideas for the rest of the books that are coming out and delineate, okay, is that really still happening? Is there consistency there? We can talk about that. But the point is, get ahead of it, because especially you don't want this crazy hobby backlog stuff coming out. You don't want to be that guy that's like, oh man, I just heard that killer cans are awesome now, the new detachment, because they respawn, and then all the killer cans are gone. If you know you like killer cans, you like walkers, go ahead and get some. You don't have to spam everything you get. I'm one of those players that has a bit of everything. I don't have a ton of everything because I actually own other armies too. And I enjoyed having those other armies, and I enjoyed having all my orcs painted. So if you look at my orc stuff, yeah, maybe I have some stuff to base, or like I have this Gorkanaut that I just got at a GT, and I need to get it more painted up. But as a whole, like 95% of my collection is painted. And that's how I like to keep it. That's why I don't get dusted behind. That's also why I don't overwhelm myself, because I did that when I first got into 40K. I had like, I don't know. Honestly, I'm not even gonna lie. I had at least 10 boxes, brand new boxes of stuff that was unbuilt, plus stuff that I was given to me that was on sprue for Christmas time, and I'd gotten to Warhammer in November. So like in that like 5 to 6 week period, I went in and got like 10 boxes worth of stuff. And I remember just sitting there at the table being overwhelmed because I barely even had assembled models and I didn't know how to paint anything. So it's like, that's fine. But if you get too much stuff, at some point you can get overwhelmed and not end up wanting to do anything, not having anything done. And then you're just someone who collects stuff that's just not painted. And I promise you, once you get your first, like even 700 points, 500 points, 1,000 points of stuff painted on the table, you're like, oh, I want my stuff painted now, because it gives you that immersion feeling. And if you're playing orcs, you care about the immersion. You care about actually appreciating your models and how they look all crazy and stuff. So I'm not a creative person. That's why my biggest thing as an orc person that I'm the most probably insecure about is that I'm actually not super creative or, you know, with kit bashing or anything. That's why a lot of the time I live vicariously through the community, because I look at your pictures and I'm like, I cannot paint like that. I can't do any of that. I got 2 left hands and I'm right-handed. So what's happening? So yes, all that to say, it's always great to get new things. Get it ahead of time. Get what you like, because the meta and everything changes so quickly every couple months that by the time you've hobbied on something, all of a sudden your gargantuan squig, your kill tank, your gorkanaut, your morkanaut, your ludas, your whatever it may be are nice and painted up. Like my flash kits were all painted up. As soon as the flash kits meta came around, boom, I had a bunch of flash kits painted up. I had to get a Captain Badrock because I didn't own one, but my point is I had everything painted up. Would be cool to see Eddie play a game, do a playthrough of that game when it comes out. Do you mean Space Marines? Probably Space Marines or Speed Freaks. You guys seen Speed Freaks before, right? Zagrok really needs to be worked into that list. Yeah, he's the Gretchen Big Papas. He's Big Poppy for the Gretchen, of course. You know, he's pretty much their leader as the freebooter captain of them with his super runs. So come on now. Of course, thematic. Where's the 18 Def Cop? That's what I'm saying. Where is the safety? I would literally, when I was getting on the stream, guys, and I was sitting there, I was like, some little snotling is going to send me an 18 dev captives list, and I'm going to have to review it in a semi-serious manner. And guess what? No one did. So now I'm a little disappointed. Where's my 18 dev captive list? I know someone out there is putting one together. Dawn of War 3 is awful. Play 1 if you like big army strategy games. Play 2 if you prefer smaller squad strategies. 5, 6 units in campaign total. Okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying. That's not nearly as many. I like the big ones, but at the same time, I can play smaller ones. Like I played Halo Wars 2. I had a great time with Halo Wars 2. You know, and that's not as massive and it's limited to console. But I appreciate Bannerlords 2 because of the massive gameplay even more. Do you have a cool kit bashed orc model? I do, and he's obviously my favorite. Oh, he's actually right here by me. Funny you say that. He's actually a war boss in mega armor. I'll show him. Yes. Stay with me. So here he is. This is my war boss in mega armor. I don't know why the picture is so crappy, but he's the AOS model with the axe, right? I'm sure you guys can tell already by his stats. He's a bunch of kill. Sorry. Sorry. He's having a brain fart. Killacan bits. A couple Death Dread bits, and that's from a old buggy that's like not a model anymore in Legends. And then I have a grot stuck on the back for him. And yeah, pretty much I just put like his booties are just Killacan bits. I put some like guard bits back here of like metal plates and grenade pouches and stuff, because he would just pick that up and loot that off bodies. Little stuff on the side. So yeah, this is my war boss in mega armor that I got because they didn't I didn't like that model too much, even though the model's fine. I just thought that I wanted something a bit extra thick, because when you hear about them in lore, they're like little death dreads in themselves. So I wanted to make sure that the war boss and mega armor that I had was very thick, and he is very thick. As you can see, he's quite big. So when I put him up and line him up against anybody, he looks freaking awesome. You know, he's little. He's like a mini Killacan. So thanks for asking that question, because that's my favorite model, because I did that, and I don't have them anymore. So don't ask anymore. So Space Hulk, Deathwing. If you want to meet Terminators, killing hordes of Gene Theaters plays like Darktide and Vermintide, I do have that game. I got that game on PlayStation, and I actually do play, and I play with people that don't know what Warhammer is, so it makes it very fun. And they're like, "What is happening? Why is this like that?" No, it is. It's actually a very good game too. I mean, well, very good might be a bit much, but it's a good game, good fun game, especially because you can get it for cheap nowadays. I'm seriously waffling on the Grot. If I give up one Grot Mega Tank, I can bump all 3 up to 20-man units. I won't take Zog because my Grots are going to run out. Because my Grots are going to run out in the front and screen. Well, Zog's good for that because he gives you scouting, and he makes you more durable. So he's fine for that. But I get what you're saying because you don't have like a lot of spare points on your list. You have big bricks of the Grot tanks, and you have the Mega tanks. So I don't know where you would find that. I guess you're right on that. Am I willing, or are you willing, to give up one Mega tank for all those Grots? That's up to you, but I would say that would be quite thematic, and you do need some screens. So yeah, you got to play the mission too. I enjoyed the Speed Freaks Alpha. Played Snazwagon a lot. Oh, I missed the Alpha, dude. I would have loved to play the Alpha. Dang, that's awesome. Yeah. What do you think of the best Def Dread loadout? I have the metal dreadnoughts with 2 claws, big shooter, and a scorcher. I like running mine with pretty much all claws. I know that sounds boring. It is what it is. If he's going to be played in the game, he's going to be strategic reserves, rapid ingress in onto the table, maybe tank shock with him, and then try to crump something. The rockets are totally, and like I said, if I just order of how I like stuff, I like rockets because they don't kill you from hazardous. And the flat damage 3 is nice and reliable. If you do get the hit wound, you get wound through, you really want that flat damage 3. It's nothing worse than rolling a 1 on the D6 for custom boosted blast, for the custom mega blaster. Scorchers, totally viable. Sometimes you got to kill screen stuff that gets in the way. So if you want to go 3 arms and a Scorcher, I'm not against that either. But I do like to keep more attacks than not because you start still hitting on 3s with that guy, which means he's still going to drop some. The sustained 6s will give you 1 back, but in all, I need at least 6 to 7 hits on my Def Dread to feel like I'm actually going to hurt something that it's trying to kill if I'm throwing a Def Dread at it. So long story short, I'm going for the redundancy and offensive most likely capability, which would be the claws, having more claws involved. But I will accept a Scorcher on one of mine, which I have one that way as well, because sometimes you just got to roast some little screens there in the way. So yeah, that's just my cup of tea. But everybody just play him how you want, dude. He's not meta or loved right now. Have a mech there, give him +1, have something else you might want to give +1 to hit later. And I'm really into the Mega Dreads right now. I know those are Forge World. Not everybody's gonna get them, but they give themselves +1. It's freaking awesome. I just posted one, the Air. Whoa! I think I've seen a picture of that before, of your Air Waaagh, and it looks awesome, I think. 1 year ago, I became a father, and I haven't had time to. You think I started putting on my story time voice? You guys seen that? All right, let me try that again. 1 year ago, I became a father, and I haven't had time for painting, basically. But boy, if I kept on building new models, lol. Now 90% of my army is just unpainted. Yes, it's a little bit sad, but it's okay. Now that was my Ork time reading voice. No, dude, that's totally fine too, because at some point you won't be as busy because, like you said, it's just 1 year ago, and there's ways to come up, to make up for that. 1, there's slap chop painting. 2, there's airbrushing. You could sit down one day once you have the space and the time, whatever, learn how to airbrush, set up a little airbrush thing. I popped out 100 boys, and literally 1.5 sessions. Got them all like the base color, added the green to their arms and their faces. And I was just learning as I went, whatever, and I got so many boys done like that. Started doing my vehicles like that to get them all done. Then all of a sudden I had them all just base coated. Then I was willing to go through and do the skin. Then I would go through and dry brush some stuff and do some metal parts as it comes. So you can use primer. Some people find a way to use the primer as a good base in order to paint into and over that and incorporate it with dry brushing. It doesn't, especially if you're busy but you want them to be painted, pick the specific models that you would ever want to be painted because you want to play with them. Slowly work on them. Dry brushing is great. Contrast paints are great. And just work on them slowly. But there's nothing wrong with, while you are a new father, to be doing, sorry, I was in a hiccup there. While you're a new father, to be prioritizing that and just getting the models done and put on bases and just built up. But remember, then when you got to start basing them, sometimes they get in the way. You start putting basing material on your Ork boy's foot. Nice, Joe. I just saw that pop up on Discord. You mad lad. Yeah, I'll probably end up showing that again. I think Joe have showed that before on our hobby thing. And normally, guys, on these hobbies, because it seems like it's been going good so far on these hobby streams, I'll probably pull up everybody's like pictures and stuff like that too. And I'm gonna go back to the list right here in a second because we have lists. Let me see, make sure I didn't miss anything. I'll let you guys talk more a little bit. Let me go back. Let's go back to the 2K list for the UKTC. Remember, guys, you can respond as well. This person can. These are people from Discord that I'm showing here. So chances are, if their list is up on here, they're going to be able to see this. They're going to be able to see it in the live chats. You guys can respond as if they were here. So go ahead and just have at it. Talk to me, talk to them, pretend that they're here. Maybe they are here. Respond. All your opinions matter and are valid, or questions, obviously, because that's the point of this community. There's no wrong or dumb question. So we got Beast Boss. Love Beast Bosses. I really do. Captain Badrook, Nodbon Smash a Squig with Ed Wappus Kill Chopper. War Boss, weird boy. I'm already liking this. Bam. I'm feeling this. Feeling it. Beast Snagger Boys. Love my boys. 3 trucks. That's pretty much where I'm at too nowadays. Three trucks. A battle wagon. Okay, 3 trucks in a battle wagon. Man, what's up with all these battle wagons, you guys? Man, you guys after my heart. 1 small unit of burner boys, 2 units of burner boys. That's interesting that you brought them in small units. I don't know if you intended to blend them into 1 unit and you just didn't do it. Let me know. But I'd like to see them as a big unit because then it matters more for Overwatch, stuff like that. But whatever. If not, I'm sure they work without it. Flash kits, because you're going to Overwatch the flash kits anyways instead. And then you got 1 small unit of Gretchen. That's interesting. You brought Gretchen you brought Burner Boys instead of Gretchen to an extent. 1 unit of knobs with power claws, another unit of knobs with power claws. That's interesting. That you use, are you putting, yeah, so you have 2 war bosses, so you can put 1 in each unit. Okay. I'm not against that. I'm actually really not against that, to be honest. Of course, it's going to limit what kind of units you're able to take out. Like a 5-man unit of Terminators isn't going to be scared of 5 knobs and a war boss necessarily. Like, it's not going to be scared to get one shot by them. But you can punch out a bunch of different things for that cost, and they'll catch people off guard. And just keep throwing the, like, knob units as missiles at people, and then they'll be small and semi-durable because the -1 to wound. So I'm not against that. 1 brick of Squig Hog Boys, because I feel like I love that, and I'm never, even if they thematically don't fit, sometimes I end up putting them in lists because they just have a specific job and purpose and like utility and just effectiveness. It's just no question that Squig Hog Boys, Mazrog, Beast Boss and Squigosaur, there's no question that those are extremely efficient and the best data sheets point per point in the Ork index. There's no question about that. You don't have to sell that to me, guys. We all know this. Anybody telling you that, they're preaching to the choir, because we all know that. It's about where's the meta going to go and what else we're going to do. And that's why I like the knobs, because as we see more Armor of Contempt and we see more 2-up armor saves in the game, stuff like that, and more gunline armies, people seem to be going like, hey, maybe I need some AP on my list. And that's why you see mega knobs and knobs. So just tangent there. I like to go on tangents in the middle of nowhere because that's what we do. And then I like the trifecta, of course. Like I always say, everybody has their trifecta. They have either 2 Storm Boys, 3 Storm Boys, 2 Bikers, 1 Storm Boys, These can all be traded out, one for the other, or just all 3 of one of them. But having this trifecta, having just 3 of these type of units for scoring, is what I consider most mandatory in Ork list, especially if you don't have a lot of trucks. If you have a lot of trucks, you can just not have these guys because trucks are serving a safe purpose. But having at least 2 Storm Boys on a biker or 3 Storm Boys, whatever that is, always great on every Ork list. So as a whole, what I'm loving, the scoring units, the brick of Squig Hog Boys, these 2 small knob units as smaller scalpels, I could find as interesting. You don't have so much investment at one spot. They can be in different trucks. With the Burner Boys, you have a SWAT team right there. So the Burner Boys can flame away whatever the problematic kind of chaff unit is. You don't have to get the knobs out to deal with everything. You just kind of hold them back and wait. They pop the truck. The Burner Boys can actually dismark and kind of get in the way for them. Stuff like that. So it's interesting to decide to go for what I call the SWAT team, right? What I mean by the SWAT team is you have the truck, you have 5 Burner Boys, and then you have the knobs, and then they have the war boss in this case. And they drive around. The Burner Boys are shooting out of it. Maybe there's somebody put some dumb stuff on an objective. Burner Boy can jump out, re-roll against it, or they can just stand there and do it from the truck. And then if something has to get punched, the knobs get out and start punching it. So that's called the SWAT combo, guys. If you haven't heard about it before, it's very fun, and I actually love to see that it's actually on here. And then he has the flash kits for that reliable throttling range damage that you can get. I do want to know the future of the flash kits. It seems like everybody's still very much into them, but I wonder, like we were just talking about AP, is that going to start becoming a problem, or are people just going to use the flash kits for what is not the problem, and then just tuck into mega knobs and knobs for what is the problematic unit of getting armor of contempt at a 2-up save? That's what I can see it happening. I can see the flash kits being used on everything else, and then whenever you have the stuff that's going to be armor of contempted, you're going to use the knobs for that. Battle wagon. I love battle wagons. I think that most armies, other than Space Marines with Lancers, are going to have a problem with popping. Or Leagues of Oltan, of course, with their version of a Land Raider, that big Tonka truck. That can probably, for the most part, mess up a battle wagon as well. But all in all, there's just some games that people are not going to be able to pop a battle wagon at range, or not reliably at least. Make sure it has cover though, so you can give the extra durability. So all in all, what would I say about this? Make sure when you use the beast boss, you utilize them correctly. Make sure you're re-rolling, fishing for the 5s and 6s, so you can get enough hits off on him, or you don't get his his efficiency. I slightly like Cyborg Body on a War Boss better, but I'm not against it on the Beast Boss because these are just small units anyway, so it's less likely they'll be precisioned out. So I'm totally fine with it being there too. And he's more used like you're gonna need him more right now on this list. Captain Badrock, he's fine where he's at. Now Smash Squig, and then the weird boy. I'm assuming he can either be alone or with this 10-man unit of boys. So all in all, I really like the list. You do have scoring potential. You do have some killing potential. It's interesting that you actually don't have Mazrog on this list. So you are missing that one kind of tanky anchor unit that we have. You're bringing the SWAT teams that could deal with a lot of smaller scoring potential units that we're going to see around the meta. Still have the AP on the list, and you still have the transportations. So there's only a couple, matchups that you might end up having to worry about and like be worried about as a whole. But you can still play the mission. You can still be extra killy, and you should do quite well even with this list. I love to see multiple mega knobs. Multiple knobs. To be honest, guys, we've seen other lists that do quite well with even 2 to 3 mega knobs on their list. What's going on here? Okay, and this is a Crusade list, so we'll talk about this after I peep out the chats for a second. Boom, 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 boom. Let me see what you guys said. I see the Death Draw loadout. I see. Now that boss is the biggest get. Whoa! I've been painting for years. I know that there are plenty of painting sessions in the future. Oh, that's great then. If you're a great painter and you've been painting, that's awesome. When I got into it, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, so I got overwhelmed quickly. Power claws or twin kill saws on mega knobs. Let's talk about it. Okay. So if you're gonna bring the power claw, you get the shooter, of course. You have the potential to do some shooter damage. Maybe dev somebody with them. Not exactly useful. You get one more attack. Nice, because you lack volume with the twin kill saws. But as a whole, you're bringing the twin kill saws because you're trying to deal with something that has great armor saves or durable toughness, right? The twin factor makes them very reliable. So the whole big issue with them is that they get a very, very dumb low amount of attacks. But mathematically, it does equate to almost hitting on 6s because you have sustained 6. Almost hitting on 3s because you have sustained 6s. Not exactly, but you are getting closer to than not. So let's just say you roll 12 dice, you'll more than likely get like 7 hits, maybe 8. And then because there's such a high strength and they're twin link re-rolling, you're very likely to get all of them as wounds. And then you're putting reliable wounds into enemies that have great armor saves. So I like them for skirmishing. And I don't love the power claws because that's already going on the knobs, and their weapon profile just doesn't really get to the threshold that you want it. Sitting at strength 9, it's just like, oh, only -2 AP 2 damage. You're like, oh, so it's not really doing anything great. The reason the knobs do it great is because there's 10 of them, and they can put the volume in, and they're getting +1 from their war boss, and you can use Unbridled Carnage. The mega knobs aren't going to have that volume, so you're going for the additional AP, going for the reliable wound potential that you're chipping into somebody, and the fact that you can actually survive a clapback. Okay, there's not many orc units that can actually get survived by punching by a lot of things. Mega knobs can survive by getting punched by things. Therefore, just getting reliable damage back into something when you're going to charge into it. You got to kill a couple of them at least, because at least you can survive the clapback. So in that case, twin kill saws make it so you're more reliably killing the units that are trying to kill you first. Is Follow Me Lads good on Zadgrog? You can't put it on him because he's a named character, an epic character. Hard choice. Twin kill saws only have one extra attack. Yeah, exactly. I just go for the twin kill saws. They don't have an extra attack. They only have 2 attacks. But I know what you meant to say. Would you ever run Maz and Beast Boss and Squigosaur at the same time? Absolutely. Go ahead and run both of them and run a Death Killer War track with the 4-up Feel No Pain. Now you have the trifecta of 4-up Feel No Pains. And I'm saying that in a serious manner. Yes. Like I said, skews can just sometimes win games in themselves, having a stat check in themselves. I don't run that myself personally right now, but I've seen it run several times efficiently, effectively. It's fine. What you have to realize is the Beast Boss on Squigosaur isn't as killy as Maz, and he's really not that killy as a whole. The fact that he has -1 AP, his damage can go, he can swing, he can either annihilate something because his dev wounds, or he can just bounce off something because he doesn't have a great strength or great damage or great AP. So really what he is one, he's giving you his reroll aura so that your Squig boys can get into reliable combat more effectively. 2, he has his counter charging capability for heroic interventions. 3 is he's one of the few orc units that can stand in the open and kind of draw fire while your other units stage or hide behind terrain. So running him and Maz is great because you're kind of doubling down on that same problem of I have a 4 Feel No Pain. You don't know exactly how long it's going to take to kill me. That's really what it comes down to. And you're just riding the dice, like I like to say. With orcs, a lot of the time you're just riding the dice. You can have a great plan, but you can just fail all your saves. You're like, oh, whatever. I don't have any shenanigans. I'm not coming back to life. I don't have magic dice. I don't have magic 6s. Just here I am. I rolled a 1 on my advance. Oh, well. So, yeah, having him giving you the reroll of charges on your Squig units is nice. So if you're going to bring both, most likely I'm assuming you're trying to bring bricks to Squig Hog Boys. So you put them both together. He gives auras so that they can reroll charges. That's where he also becomes effective. So he's almost like oddly supportive as well. So I would say, yes, you could totally bring him. No reason you shouldn't. And he says, it occurs to me that killing Grots is never a good trade. Yes. Forcing my opponents to shoot or fight an extra 36 groups or Grots is better than one mega tank. Yeah, unless they're like, for some reason, have a dumb amount of like bolter chat type weapons left or anything like that. And as a whole, like, you know, what do you have? I was thinking you don't really have a transport besides the kill tank. But, I mean, putting Grots in a transport could be fun too sometimes. Just because of that reason. It's like if I have to transport and these guys get out and it's like, oh, they have 2 OC, and you're like, haha, yes, I will run over to the objective now. Also, 21 boys in chat. Can we get a whoa? Yeah, we have a good amount of people in chat, actually. I was surprised. And I'm happy to see that. I'm probably gonna end up actually getting off soon because I do work. I'm trying to be a productive git, and this was a short notice, but I'm pretty much told David that I want to do like a community stream where I just interact and talk to everybody. Of course, I want to do a Friday streams, be some kind of content, some kind of message, some kind of information for the most part. Wednesdays are obviously BCP, going over all the different orc lists because we're not just talking about the best performing orc list. We like to talk about all the lists. And then David ends up editing those. You guys didn't know. David edits those down. That's what those weird videos are when there's like a random git in his list. We condensed those long hour, 2-hour videos of us doing streams, of us doing lists, and we condense it down to that 5 to 10 minutes of us talking about one person's matchups. So if you see, oh, this has 2 battle wagons and thumbnail, oh, this has 2 kill rigs, or this has gas, then that means that's what that list was using. So if you're thinking about how does it look, that's literally what that video is for. Click that, you get a baseline of who he went against, how he did, maybe how he played the mission, whatever it may be, whatever we could kind of extrapolate from just looking through BCP. That's the point of what those lists are too, those videos. So David takes our Wednesdays, he cuts them down. So maybe you missed it or whatever, you don't feel like watching the whole thing, but keep an eye out. Whenever you see those weird thumbnails, that's someone's list with those models. And it's made so that people can get ideas instead of just what's the meta. Oh, well, what it is run at least 12 Squig Hog Boys with flash gets roughly 10 knobs to 20 mega knobs. Then you run at least Mazrog's Scrag Bag, followed by War Boss with Super Cyborg Body and Edwap's Kill Choppa on the Beast Boss on the knob on Smash Squig or Beast Boss. Like, what if I told you that? You guys know this. You already know that stuff is good. The whole point of what we do the Wednesdays for is to talk about everything as a whole and give you guys examples of people that are better than me, people that are just as good as you, people that are just out there playing in different metas and communities that have running the games by looking through it with each other. That's the whole point of this, right? We only get so many games of 40K as individuals. So let's look at everybody as a whole and see, oh, look at that guy over there, Rand. Whoa, that guy ran 2 Hunter rigs and 20 Beast Snacker Boys with Pain Boys? What? With the Pain Boss? Yeah, somebody ran a list like that, and he did great. And that's the point of why we go over these things, because those lists that I would have never seen, you guys would have never seen. They would have just lost in the BCP ether in the great Waaagh forever. But that's the point of what this channel is for. So if you see those out there as well, you don't feel like watching the Wednesday, whatever, don't watch the Wednesday. But keep an eye out for those videos that are edited down, because they can actually give you ideas on what you want to run with waddle wagons, with rigs, with mega knobs, with gas. We've already seen that. We've seen a lot of these already, and now they're just making their folds back into the meta. That's why orcs are awesome. Whoa! Sorry, I just said it again. I won because someone called me. 20 boys and 1 grot. Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, you the grot. You the little grot. The little runt. A war boss for each knob unit. Yeah, and a burner boy, FY, each truck, FY. Yeah, Rob, that's called the SWAT team. That speed wall list is hilarious. I love speed walls. So it's only hilarious until they dock you off the board. Thanks already. Thanks haven't already. Oh, nice. That's fantastic. I'm going to give a good chuckle when you deploy all those scrap jets. Oh wait, hold on. Is this list already showed? Yeah, we're already talking about this list. Let's look at one of the last. This is the Crusade list. We have the Crusade list, and then one more list after that, which I believe this is actually Wadday's list. So we'll go after that. After we look at the Crusade list for fun, we'll just give it a quick peek, because I know people don't know all the time about Crusades, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about it. Bam, bam. So the 750 points is not Crusade, but a small Xmas tournament that needs to be fluffy rather than meta. Bunch of ways to pay to win during the games. Oh, okay, so it's just the fun. All of it's for charity. Okay. Well, we're doing the 3K list only, pretty much right off the bat. Bjorn Anderson. Whoa! From Sweden. Wait a second. Hold on, Git. Are you that Git that won that event, or am I just being racist because your name's Bjorn from Sweden? Am I being a typical American that doesn't know anything because I only know about American names? Maybe. But you might also be Bjorn that got first place on that list that I had to pull up through that weird text chat thing instead. So maybe not. He said no. That's okay. Then I guess I'm just a dumb American. Either way, whoa! Love people from Sweden. Still fantastic. And Bjorn's still a great name, so it doesn't matter. What? Baby Waaagh. Baby Waaagh. I'm going to sleep after 5-hour painting session. I will have an army painted by November 1st. Dang, that's a good goal. But there are no baby Waahs. Whoa! You can baby Waaagh on your own. By the way, he said no. So yes, I am just dumb. All right. So let's look at this list real quick with this 3K Crusade list. Let's see how big this looks, Horty guys. If you don't play 3K, that's fine. Use your imagination to wonder, how could you get to 3K and what would you do? Beast Boss and Squigosaur. Big Mech with Shock Attack Gun. Love him. Mech, Nama Smasher Squig, War Boss and Mega Armor, and a Weird Boy. So you do have actually a little less points invested in your characters than I would have expected for a 3K game, but I'm cool with that. I don't think you really want to put too many points. Beast Mega boys. Okay, boys. Truck. Battle Wagon. We got 1, 2 Def Dreads. Okay, you're down with the Def, and you put a rocket launcher. That's fine. And the one has a Scorcher. That's fine. I think that's totally fine, to be honest. As long as you have 3 claws, I'm pretty much cool with whatever weapon you want to bring. 1 unit of Def Copters. Def Copters are fine for 100 points. Like I always say, we only have 2 units in the Ork index that are just inherently deep striking, which are the Storm Boys and Def Copters. So at 100 points, Def Copters are fine. Just know that they're kind of big to fit in that deep strike, but at least they don't get picked up by small arms fire. The Gorkanaut. Gorkanaut is that one like Walker Titanic unit right now for Orks that still has playability because it's under that 300 point threshold range. 280 points. It can actually, it has a decent transport capacity. Now they use it for that, but some match dependent you might, because you might know you're going to strategic reserve. You might come in and ingress it, then you get the boys. The boys can jump out of it from ingress. So then you can just have both of those units. Then you call the wall, the next turn, then boom, you run up the board. So Gorkanaut can be interesting. So I'm not sniffing. Like I said, the only thing that you don't want to see are Lancers, pretty much. Then you got Gretchen. Oh, then you have a kill rig anyway, so it might soak up some of that fire. As I think kill rigs are great. If you don't know how I feel about kill rigs, know that I think any model that's playing multiple phases of Warhammer 40K, which the kill rig is playing the movement, it's playing the shooting phase, it's playing the charge phase because it can do mortals with tank shock as well. It's transporting, which also helps with the movement phase. It fights, It also does a buffing ability, so not command phase, but necessarily it would be considered a buff. So it's playing all phases of Warhammer 40k in an effective manner, in a very helpful manner for 200 points in one wrapped up package. If you can find a way to play with your kill rigs, go ahead. And when you split it with like a Gorkanaut or something that can soak up some damage, it has a higher chance of surviving. It's still a bit susceptible to being shot off the table, though. 1 unit of commandos, 1 small unit of Ludas, 1 3-man unit of Meganobs, 1 small unit of Meganobs, Wrecker Trucks, Squig Hog Boys, Storm Boys, Amble. Oh my gosh, an Amble? That's hilarious. Yeah, I guess it's an escalation. You can do whatever you want, and I love that. So it looks like you just brought a little bit of everything. It looks like a fun thematic list. I hope your Death Dreads come into play. I hope they do great. You have a good amount of boys. I hope that shock attack gun is going with the Ludas. So good luck on that escalation league. I like those lists. It's very thematic and fun. You have walkers, you have transports, you got boys all over the table. You have some shooting. So it should be you should be able to play quite effectively with that list, anyways. So let me see what you guys said in response before I go over the last list. This is the last list. Did I not have that up right now? Was I just talking without showing the other orc list? The heck? Did I not show the freaking crusade list? Was I just talking to the ether? This was the orc crusade list, guys. Sorry, was I just talking to the ether? My God. I thought I posted that up. Yeah, Beast Boss and Squig shock attack gun, mech, Knob with Smash the Squig, War Boss, just to let you guys all see again. War Boss and Meg Armor for the 3-man unit. He had all the boys, about 4 or 5 units of boys. Battle Wagon, Death Treads, Death Cops, Gorks, Kill Rigs, Commandos, Ludas, Meganobs, Knobs, Squig Buggies. Yeah, so you've totally just a little bit of everything mixed up. Sorry that I thought I had that presented, and for some reason I didn't, so that was weird. And this is the final list brought to us by Waaagh, Gork, and or Mork. But let me look at chats before we look at the last one. Heard Baby Waaagh, and I thought of David for some reason. What the why would you think that? Whoa! Baby Waaagh. They'd be getting them real Waaagh. That's hilarious, though. If he reads that, he'll get butthurt, so it's funny. Deeply dedicated wall. Whoa! From Russia. From Russian Orc community. Your channel was advised between us, and frankly, it's awesome. Ooh. Whoa! I'm glad you think that. That's fantastic. I love to get the support from Russia, from all over the world. I'm actually surprised that you guys were able to see it and interact with it. I don't use too many other social medias to promote it, guys. I literally just let the algorithm run. We just hope that we get enough likes and enough interaction that you guys watch. And for that, it seems to be working. If the Russian community's seen it, I hope what YouTube, your channel is, yeah. So I mean, I hope YouTube, you meant recommended it, and that we provide some kind of value and entertainment. Because I do look at lists from all over the world. I don't limit it to just America, and I look at lists based off just for them being fun sometimes. I don't care if the guy was at a freaking giant GT only. I'll look at RTT sometimes. I sit there and just look through almost every list on BCP sometimes to find the ones that are the most entertaining. So thanks for the shout out. Whoa! I don't want to wake the Miss Ork. She crumbs hard. Okay, yeah. Okay, then you can do a little silent wall. You can do a sneaky wall. You know what I'm saying? And that's so funny because you just reminded me of there's a part in that Catachan Jungle book, and he's like, "That's the thing. We don't wall." So I'm not gonna say any more than that, but that just reminded me. That was a line from it. By the way, are you going to make other orc lore stream? Let's see. I haven't done an lore video, but I'm down to do lore ones. Like I said, I just need you guys to tell me. You can tell me directly in Discord, throw me a message. You can at me, whatever you guys want. You guys can criticize that kind of me. What do you mean exactly by lore? Because there's a lot of Orc videos. There's like the corks and such like that. There's like how the orcs actually live and what they do. Like, what do you guys exactly want? Because I thought about doing shorts based off the different kind of boys, but everybody knows that. Do you want like small examples from books that kind of like tells you exactly what people are talking about, like what the orcs' limitations and fascinations are? Like, what do you mean? Because I don't want to get in trouble for reading out of a book, but there's certain like when I used to argue back in the day when I had too much time, you would do based off like feats, right? If you would talk about Marvel comic characters and you would say Spider-Man versus Daredevil, well, you would look at their feats, pretty much their greatest activities and what they've ever done. And by that, you'll use that to argue their limitations and their actual capabilities. In the same manner, that's how would you want to be argued orcs in that way? Because people go, for example, orcs believe things, so they just happen. Okay, that's kind of true. But there's also a part many times in orc lore where orcs actually utilize some kind of technology and understanding of technology. In one book, they actually abducted Eldar psychers and used them to function a teleporter that they used to teleport battle wagons to a planet. See, so you could say they just believed it. Well, if they just believed it, the teleporter would have just worked. But no, they have some kind of actual understanding of what they're trying to do. So in lore, you can actually kind of go that to reference actual lore. That takes more research. It would be, but it would also be more informative. That way, you actually know what you're talking about, not just red ones go faster. Well, what do you mean by red ones go faster, etc. So yeah, you can go. We can take lore in any direction. I just want to know exactly, because I don't want to just do a bunch of work on a video that is pretty much just redundantly repeating what better edited channels already done. Never miss a live stream. Whoa! There's Wapple Wop. That's what I'm talking about. We are watching and supporting. Well, I appreciate you. You get Gorka Morka lore, namely. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's a good one. Gorka Morka, straight to the point. Straight direct reference lore source material. So that would actually be very easy and interesting to do. So thanks for following up with that. Maybe a video more initially on the different clans among orcs and how they live whilst they do, etc. That's fine. I know there's lore videos kind of about orcs, so I can try to get a bit more creative about that. But before I get off, let's look at this Waaagh new iteration. Waaagh had a thing where he loved knobs. So let's see where he's at now. So we got Big Mech in Mega Armor, Captain Badrock, Mazrak's Crackback, Knob Smash Squig, Adwapa Skill Chopper, War Boss, Truck, only 2 trucks. Def Copters made it on the list. Flash Gets, of course. 2 units of Mega Knobs. I mean, sorry. That's pretty much the limit I want to beat, the minimum. 1 unit of Mega Knobs with twin kill saws. 2 have twin kill saws. 3 have power claws, and 3 custom shooters. That's interesting. I'd like to know why he did that. Knobs, just straight all power claws. That's how I like to see it. 1 brick of Squig boys. 2 small man units. I like the small man units. I call them the skirmishing units, or they run to an objective and cause your opponent to overcommit. You're throwing bombs on people. So even a 3-band unit for 110 points, very useful. And then, what is this, 2? Yeah, and then the trio, right? Like I said, you got the War Bikers, 2 Storm Boys. You can run 3. You can run 2 of the other, 2 of the, whatever it is. This is pretty much usually how I run it too. 2 Storm Boys, 1 War Biker unit, 2. So this is everything you want. This looks like some kind of list I would run. So I'm actually running something very similar to this. I'll say I'm not running the Def Cop this personally. I'm still not. But I've actually have a similar list written to this, where it's 2 small units, 1 big unit, 1 knob unit, 1 mega knob units. I have them all with twin kill saws. I think I did pay for 3 Gretchen units because I'm really trying to screen, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't think I have the Def Cop this. I might have 1 more truck and Gretchen or something like that. I think because I have 3 on my list. Yeah, but I don't know if I even have the Big Mac and Mega Armor either. So this list is something that I would directly, play myself. It has the good orc units that we know and that we're relying on. It has Squigs, it has Maz, it has Captain Badrock with his rerolls, it has Edwapa's Kill Chop, it has the War Boss and the Scalpel unit. It has everything you want, but it's also now thrown in the tech piece of the Mega Knobs. The Mega Knobs are there because what you don't want as an orc player right now when you're playing the mission is people to just throw their leftover fire, right? Everybody's like, okay, all my anti-tank into the trucks, into the Squigs, into Maz, blah, 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 all my head damage. And then they're like, well, I got some flamers and some small arms fire. I'm going to shoot your Storm Boys. I'm going to shoot your Grots. And I'm going to shoot your boys. And so when you have the Mega Knobs, you're like, well, the same weapons you want to use on everything else, you want to use on me too. Which makes that's the durability with them and themselves. And they can just walk around the table necessarily once they get out of the vehicle. Maybe they might want to even stay in the open because you can just tell them to go to ground, or you can just have the 4-up invuln anyways if you know the person's going to have too much AP regardless. So I think Mega Knobs are somewhat an answer to certain matchups of enemies that have small arm fire. I think Mega Knobs are going to end up messing up the new Space Marine attachments as well. That being said, if you go too much into Mega Knobs, you have an issue with Knights at that point, because yes, you have good AP, good strength, re-rolling wounds with the twin kill saws, but you don't have enough attacks to one-shot a Knight, and they just erode your killed Mega Knobs because Knights are one of those factions that has multi-damage weapons with good AP that can actually pick up Mega Knob units. So you don't want too many Mega Knobs. You still want enough tools between your Beast Nagas and your Knobs to deal with that as well. That's why I think 1 unit of Mega Knobs is kind of that tech piece, is the whole point of what that little rant was. So I really like this list, and this is very, very similar to something that I'd actually be running more recently than not myself. And if anybody feels different, go ahead and let me know why. But yeah, and we'll probably end up getting off here soon because we're almost 2 hours in and just shooting and chatting, and I don't mind that at all because that's exactly what today was about. It was short notice. It was just what you guys wanted to talk about. We got to talk about some gaming. I have some more idea. Now I have some idea about lore. Be on the lookout for maybe a short video about orc books. And if you haven't checked that out, our stomping grounds, it was not a greatly done short, but we're going to make that into a series. And now we have a new dice tray and we have so many more ideas for it. So yeah, as soon as we get more kickback on that, we'll be getting more into that too. So let me read some chats before I get off. Oh, you said that? Sorry. If we're talking Gorka Morka, then the Red Gobbo should be the first video. The Red Gobbo. I'm kind of disappointed that I don't have that model, to be honest. But I'll keep that in mind, pretty for sure. Gotta go, but thanks for the live and for keeping us company. You rock, Ed. To the next Whoa! Well, the next Waaagh is Wednesday when we talk about the meta. I know Brad Chesta ended up getting, I don't know if he got first, but I know he went 5-0 at his GT. So yeah, overall, I know we're gonna have good conversations about the meta on Wednesday. So make sure you guys tune in for that and let me know what's going on. I'm liking the Def Copters more and more. The reason is the T6 4 wounds can grenade and tank shock more than bolters. Yeah, there you go. Those are great points for them as well for 100 points. For 100 points. And sometimes, yeah, you might really want to tank shock something. They're only strength 5, so it's not like great tank shock, but tank shock nonetheless when you have to deal with some kind of small units and you want to kill them. And being T6, I have a list that's called T6 plus because I'm just trying to make things that are just T6 or greater for that same reason. Is you want everything to be going into the same, every profile wants to go into this every unit, and like the same profile wants to go into every unit, which means the rest of their profiles are ineffective against those units. So that's an idea in itself, and I do like that too. But cool, Def Copters are definitely for 100 points becoming more and more viable. That points decrease to 100 ended up making a big difference. And when those rockets do kind of get through and they end up just to happening get through, they start making their points back just from that. Not even just for the fact that they have so many wounds that they draw too much fire. Merch, I need the Wall Tactics t-shirt. Whoa! That's what this is. So we're actually finding it's nice that you brought that up. I really need to know a number, right? Because we're going to get the first batch done. I don't know exactly how many people really want it. I know some people are just, straight up nice and saying they love it, but I actually want to know, how many shirts do I want to get? What are your sizes? Just throw it at me in the PM. I want a shirt. I want a shirt. You just throw it at me, literally. We're not a huge community yet. We're a good size wall. You can hit me up. I'll know who it is. You can tell me your shirt size. Maybe I'll do 20 or from the first 20 gets that hit me up or whatever. And then we get them done and make sure everybody likes them. So yeah, I do want to know. So just send me a PM, send me a message because we're talking about it already and I'm trying to get the numbers done, crunching the numbers. That's how I sound when I crunch numbers too, yes. Because I have a 1965 keyboard. All right. I love the story of the Red Gobbo. Eddie, thank you for your passion. Thank you for your energy. And thank you for your service. I don't know why I read it like that. I guess because you were complimenting me, I got awkward. Whoa! But yes, thank you. I appreciate it. That's very kind of you. Thank you for being there and supporting me because, when I get on here and I'm like, man, I don't know what's going to happen. What am I going to say? You guys keep it going and keep me going. So it's all good. It's all good and I love it. Enemy has to use more than bolters to bring them down. And the space difference is like having 6 Storm Boys. That's great. Okay. So just only a little bit bigger is what you're saying. It's not a huge difference in the Storm Boys. Than the Storm Boy profile and how much they take up. And they just survive longer, which is sometimes just what you want for that little bit of point difference. So I think totally fine. I've seen them on several good lists on BCP showing around that people have Def Copters. If you have the points left over, you don't want the enhancement, you don't have enough to make up a difference for a whole other unit, why not pay up for the Def Copters? It would be great. Major Kill puts in the good words, Orks found that humans cosplaying as orcs is cringe, part of the Gorka Morka lore. yeah, I remember that too because I like Major Kill. His whole attitude, I can relate to that. I would definitely choke him out in jiu-jitsu though. He got nothing. He's a tiny git, but I can say that because he's the kind of guy that he understands the banter. I'm not bullying nobody, just so you guys know. But I listen to all his videos all the time. He's entertaining and his partake in what he says about the Gorka Morka lore and the orc lore as a whole is pretty hilarious. So shout out to Major Kill, even though he'll never see this, but I'd crump him anyways. So the only reason the Emperor still lives is because orcs believe he is still alive. Aren't you a cheeky git? Oh, Tomcat, there you are. Good morning, you git. It is actually 11 p.m. here, so I should actually go to sleep. But I'm saying finishing the final chats before I go. Do Indigo. I think, you know what? I'll pretend that I knew what you meant. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I guess this is it, guys. So one thing that we have to keep in mind, as Joe said, is don't cross the wall, because we knock your teeth out. Whoa! Oh, I should actually get this last one. Oh, thanks for an amazing video. Finally made it to a live, but thanks for an amazing contact. The live replays are a great listen to. Oh, thank you. You are new because I haven't seen you before with your little Furby. What is that thing? The thing looks like it's from Adventure Time. I love it. But thanks for the shout out there as well. I was just getting off. No hate to you for showing up. I appreciate you. It's late here, but I want to do more of these just straight up community ones where I talk to you guys, where there's not like an agenda plan. Hypothetically, I would paint, right? But I got so caught up because I didn't know how to kind of handle this that I just ended up not painting. So here's my palette. It's still unpainted, but it's okay because I'm ready to paint later. But like our outro always says, don't cross the wall because we knock your teeth out. Whoa! Whoa!